Chapter 36-37. When Xuanxi was sent to the hospital, the police had already obtained the surveillance footage from the banquet hall. A few hours later, the footage was sent to Frost Crane's phone. Frost Crane then sent the footage to Luo Qingchen. Xuanxi was sitting at the table in the middle of the room. Other than Xuanxi, there was no one else at the table. He ate many kinds of food. Other than the cake, there were also other foods on the table. Although Xuanxi had been eating for half an hour, there were only a few people around the table. Other than the two Shuang brothers, there was only Li Mo, Li Kaiwei, and Bai Shaoqing. According to the footage, Bai Shaoqing was the most likely to have poisoned her. However, the footage didn't show her poisoning, so it could only be a guess. Qingchen, who do you think is most likely to have poisoned Xiao Ci? Frost Crane was deeply troubled. He even felt that he was in danger because he had chosen Xuanxi as his successor. Luo Qingchen gently shook her head. I don't know. Originally, she had some idea of who it was, but after watching the footage, she was even more confused. Any one of the people in the footage could have poisoned Xiao Ci, but whoever it was, it would be too obvious. She watched the footage over and over again, but still felt that something was wrong. It was already late at night. She told Frost Crane to go home and rest while she stayed at the hospital to take care of Xuanxi. At the same time, at the Li family home, because of Xuanxi's poisoning, Li Kaiwei found another excuse to return to the Li family home. She also called Li Mo and Bai Shaoqing over. In fact, she didn't want to call Bai Shaoqing, but she was still brooding over what Luo Qingchen had said to her today. Auntie, why did you call me back? Li Mo frowned slightly. Could it be you? Of course it wasn't me. Li Kaiwei looked at the two of them sternly. I was going to ask if it was you too, but what I want to know is, what's your relationship? Bai Shaoqing wasn't very happy to be called to the Li family home for no reason, but recently, Shuanglan had been very cold to her, as if she could distance herself. She had no choice. In order not to lose Li Mo, she had no choice but to agree to Li Caiwei's request. Madame Shuang, actually Li Mo and I, there's nothing between us. Bai Shaoqing had originally wanted to play hard to get and use a more ambiguous way to describe his relationship with Li Mo. However, he didn't expect Li Mo to hesitate at all and directly reject their relationship. That's good. Li Caiwei's cold eyes narrowed as she said, Li Mo, you have to pay attention to your status. You can't just associate with any random person. The aristocratic circle is divided into many types of aristocrats, you have to understand. And I know, hey, Bai Shaoqing's sudden words were naturally very unwilling. She widened her eyes and said, Madame Shuang, what do you mean? As if I have to cling on to Li Mo, I don't mean anything. Li Kaiwei looked at her, revealing a professional and elegant smile. It's just that in our circle, we're all well-matched in terms of social status. But judging from your tone with Li Mo today, I've probably misunderstood your relationship. If you have nothing to do with Xuanxi's matter, you may leave now. Bai Shaoqing wanted to say something, but she was restrained by the fact that she was an elder. Moreover, both the Shuang family and the Li family were above her in status. Chapter 36-38. Bai Shaoqing called Shuanglan as soon as he walked out of the door of the Li mansion. It was a complaint on the phone. Shuanglan looked very helpless, but it was not good to fall out with her directly. She could only comfort her with a warm tone. Baby, don't be angry, but my stepmother is really too much. She actually suspected that I poisoned Xuanxi. Please, am I that stupid? Bai Shaoqing snorted coldly and said, there are surveillance cameras everywhere. Wouldn't I be digging my own grave if I poisoned her? Yeah, who would do such a stupid thing? Probably because Shuanglan mentioned it. Bai Shaoqing asked tentatively, Darling, is this matter related to you? Shuanglan on the phone was stunned for a moment. Then she chuckled and said, Baby, how can a man who is entrusted with his life be so stupid? Oomph. You still remember the relationship between me and her? Bai Shaoqing snorted proudly and said, I thought that after Luo Qingchen appeared, she couldn't even differentiate between north, south, east, and west. Please, if she wasn't the daughter-in-law that father chose, I wouldn't even like her. Shuanglan's tone became a little unpleasant. After all, Bai Shaoqing mentioning this matter was equivalent to mentioning the most embarrassing thing to him. If he had lost to Shuang this time, it would have been fine, but in the end he lost to a fool. So now you like her because of her identity? Bai Shaoqing asked tentatively. Darling, are you really going to let that fool inherit the Shuang family? How is that possible? Shuanglong glanced at the time and said, I've been so busy these days that I haven't had time to date with my baby. Where are you now? I'll pick you up. Humph, that's more like it. I'm at the entrance of the Li mansion. Half an hour later, Shuanglong picked up Bai Shaoqing. The two of them kissed passionately in the car. Then Bai Shaoqing snuggled in Shuanglong's arms and said while panting, I don't care. I've been reconciled for so long. You have to be responsible for me. Whenever Bai Shaoqing recalled what Luo Qingchen had done to her in the clothing store today, she would be filled with anger. Now that she had worked so hard for so long to become the girlfriend who was most likely to be the successor of the Shuang clan, she was not willing to accept it because of a fool. Baby, if you weren't leaning in my arms now, I would have thought that you didn't want to marry me, but wanted to marry the heir of the Shuang family. Shuanglong gently stroked the hair in front of her eyes, and a faint light flashed through his eyes. Bai Shaoqing's heart skipped a beat. Fortunately, her head was lowered and Shuanglong did not see the slight change in her expression. She was a woman who was very clear about what she wanted. If Shuanglong was not the most likely successor of the Shuang clan, she would not have dated him. However, the feeling of being exposed in front of everyone wasn't that great either. How is that possible? Bai Shaoqing immediately shook his head and said, Didn't Uncle Shuang already announce that Shuangzi will be the person in charge? I'm not lying in his arms right now. That's true. Shuanglong bent down and kissed Bai Shaoqing's lips forcefully and said, I'll be satisfied tonight. Aya, this is bad. Bai Shaoqing shyly lowered her head and said, But are we really not going to do anything about Shuangzi? Are we just going to let a fool become the successor? I said that it's impossible. Shuanglong's right hand slightly lifted Bai Shaoqing's chin and said, When necessary, I will take the necessary measures. Do you want to join? Chapter 36-39. What kind of method? For example, a dark light flashed in Shuanglong's eyes. She sneered and said, Make this fool disappear from the world forever. Bai Shaoqing's expression didn't change at all. Instead, he smiled and said, My dear, I'm actually thinking the same thing. Besides, I don't think the two of us are the only ones who want to deal with him. Shuanglong sneered. If his poisoning has nothing to do with us, then there must be someone more meticulous than us who wants him dead. Who do you think it is? Bai Shaoqing pursed his lips. It could be Madame Shuang, or it could be Shuangying. It was probably because Bai Shaoqing only mentioned the names of these two people. Shuanglong's eyes darkened slightly as she said, What? Is Liam Mo that clean in your eyes? Wouldn't he do something like poisoning someone? The air seemed to be filled with jealousy. Bai Shaoqing covered his mouth and laughed. My dear, you're so cute. I have no interest in Liam Mo, but I do understand him. He doesn't seem to care much about the Shuang family's wealth. The one who really cares is Madame Shuang. Some people can't be seen on the surface. Shuanglong narrowed her eyes. Just like how I think even our father could be the one who poisoned him. Ah, Bai Shaoqing was taken aback. You suspect Uncle Shuang? It's not that I suspect him. It's just a hypothesis. Shuanglong's eyebrows twitched. Luo Qingchen chose Shuangzi to be her fiancé. Father naturally wouldn't have thought of that. However, my father is a very loyal person. If he promised Luo Banshan something, he would do it even if he had to break a wall. So even though father had no choice but to agree to Luo Qingchen's choice with a smile, he must have been very worried. Shuanglong touched Bai Shaoqing's face and said, Shuang's group is the business my father has worked for half of his life. Do you think he will be willing to hand it over to a fool? Wow! At this moment, Bai Shaoqing's face revealed a look of admiration. He hugged Shuanglong tightly and said, Darling, you're so amazing. So, since so many people have the motive to harm him, it doesn't matter if we intervene. Shuanglong narrowed her eyes and said, What if our intervention becomes the most crucial one? Darling, what are you going to do? Ouch! My baby is very curious. Shuanglong smiled coldly and said, I've already sent someone to follow him. As long as he goes out, we'll find an opportunity to kill him. The problem is that he's in the hospital now, so there aren't many opportunities to kill him. There will always be a chance, darling. I believe in you. As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Shaoqing's lips moved forward, and Shuanglan kissed him fiercely. At the same time, in the hospital ward, Luo Qingshan was reading a magazine while staying by Xuanxi's side. After 2 bottles of water were given, he frowned and opened his eyes slightly. What kind of eyes were those? Deep, cold, indifferent, and full of indescribable emotions. During this period of time, Luo Qingshan often saw Xuanxi's face show such an expression, but it quickly disappeared and then turned into a smile full of stars in his eyes. But this time, he had this expression for a long time. Luo Qingshan raised his right hand slightly and waved it in front of him, saying, "Are you awake? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Chapter 3640. It was like her familiar voice pulled Xuanxi back to reality as his eyes filled with a pure glow. He threw himself into her embrace and said, "Big sister, I just had a very scary dream. I dreamed that I disappeared and I couldn't bear it. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 60%. Luo Qingshan could clearly feel Xuanxi's strong heartbeat and the cold sweat on his back. She didn't know what kind of dream Xuanxi had, but based on his reaction, it shouldn't be a good dream. Dreams and reality are opposite. Luo Qingshan softly patted his head and said, "Don't be too afraid." But I was very strong in the dream. Xuanxi lowered his head and said, "He seemed to be me and not me, but my heart strangely felt like I liked him very much." "Like him very much?" Luo Qingshan pursed her lips and said, "Perhaps it was because of the poison that caused the dream. I'll have the doctor take a look." No. Xuanxi shook his head. "Big sister, don't leave. If the doctor says it's fine, we can leave the hospital tomorrow." Luo Qingshan gave a soft laugh. "You don't want to stay in the hospital forever, right? Actually, the hospital is quite good," he proudly said with a nod. "There aren't many people in the hospital. There's only me and Big Sister." Luo Qingshan suddenly felt that this Xuanxi was very pure. Even his expression of love was very direct. The doctor gave Xuanxi another examination and found that his body was normal. There weren't any big problems, and he could leave the hospital. The next morning, Xuanxi seriously looked at her and said, "Big sister, I feel like I've gone around a ghost this time, and I'm very afraid." Luo Qingshan looked at his pure face and could see that he had a purpose for saying this. "Then what do you want to do?" "Big sister, let's go to the amusement park, all right?" Xuanxi revealed a bright smile and said, "I want to hold my daughter-in-law's hand and go to the amusement park together." "Okay." Luo Qingshan chuckled. "We'll go wherever Xuanxi wants to go." Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 70%. Once upon a time, he was the one who would take her wherever she wanted to go in countless planes. But now, she had exchanged identities with him. She was pampering him like a child, and she felt an inexplicable satisfaction in her heart. When they came out of the hospital, the driver was already waiting for them at the entrance. Luo Qingshan asked Xuanxi where he wanted to go. He said he wanted to go to Ocean Park. The Ocean Park in City, it was very famous. Every day, many parents would bring their children there to play. Luo Qingshan felt that she had brought a great friend. "Miss, do you need me to accompany you or wait at the door?" Luo Qingshan looked at the time and said, "We probably won't play that fast. Let's go back and rest first. We'll go back by ourselves later. Master is worried about the young miss and young master's safety." The driver suggested, "How about you let me go with you?" No. Xuanxi seriously rejected. "It's hard enough to have some time with my daughter-in-law. Don't disturb us." It's fine," Luo Qingshan said with a faint smile. "I will protect his safety." "All right." The driver nodded. "Then I'll wait at the door. You can call me if the young miss needs the car." Chapter 3641. Although Luo Qingshan didn't know why Xuanxi wanted to go to the amusement park, he had a lot of fun in the amusement park. But they were all relatively mild projects, and he didn't dare to play any of the exciting projects. "Sister, are you afraid of ghosts?" Standing in front of the haunted house, Xuanxi's eyes flickered. He seemed to want to go, but he was a little afraid. Luo Qingshan knew that Xuanxi wanted to show off in front of her, or protect her to go to the haunted house together. I'm not afraid of anything, but I'm super afraid of ghosts. Luo Qingshun deliberately showed a scared look and looked at him. Let's not play this project. Aya. Ghosts are fake. Shuangzi took her hand, and his eyes flickered with a pure and serious light. I'll protect you. Let's go. Okay. Luo Qingshun nodded gently. But you have to protect me. The haunted house in this large ocean park was rebuilt with a large area and a total of 3 floors, including a basement. The name was Mori Hospital. Just from the name, one could know that this was a haunted house built with the theme of a hospital, which was very different from the haunted houses they had visited before. Probably because they were in the amusement park, there were too many people coming and going. Even Luo Qingshun didn't notice that someone had been following them. Please deposit your bags and valuables, and put on our special clothes here. The manager at the door patiently introduced and handed 2 brand-new clothes to Luo Qingshun and Shuangzi. Wow, Shuangzi said with a look of surprise. So I'm wearing a couple's outfit with my sister again? Yes. Luo Qingshun chuckled and quickly put on clothes. The manager looked at them and said, Brother, you're so handsome. Can I take a picture with you later? Not my younger brother. Shuangzi corrected him after putting on her clothes. She's my wife. The next second, the waitress smiled awkwardly and said, Sorry. It's fine. Luo Qingshun chuckled. He's quite at Sundara. Yes. Shuangzi's eyes suddenly became serious. It's mine. I don't think I'll let anyone take it away. You guys are so blessed. The waitress passed the 2 white candles to them and said, Because our haunted house's map is quite big, and it is an exploration-type haunted house. Some places are very dark and require the help of candles for illumination. There will be a total of 10 people going in at a time. Everyone must actively collect clues in order to have a chance to come out. Okay, the group of people behind him said in unison. Luo Qingshun didn't feel anything wrong. She took Shuangzi's hand and walked inside with the same group of people. They didn't walk in the first place and didn't walk in the last place. As soon as they entered the door, they felt a cold wind blowing past their ears. The air was filled with the smell of alcohol and formalin, and the horrible atmosphere of the hospital was instantly set off. Shuangzi's hands instantly oozed cold sweat, but she still took a step forward, wanting to stand in front of her to protect her. Ding! An elevator appeared in front of them. Everyone was stunned. The moment the elevator door opened, a patient in a hospital gown and covered in blood climbed out. The people around instantly screamed. Shuangzi directly threw herself into her arms. Chapter 36:42. Luo Qingshun frowned slightly. She raised her right hand to touch Shuangzi's head and said, Don't be scared. It's all fake. I'm not scared. He snuggled in her arms, his face slightly pale. The people who came in at the same time looked at each other. Among them, a blonde girl said, Miss is very brave. Why don't you take us with you? The elevator slowly descended, and the door on the right opened. It was a quiet corridor, and they could only bend down to move forward. Okay, she answered softly. She used the candle to shine inside and bent down to enter. The corridor was very clean, but it was a little long. The smell of blood could be smelled. Suddenly, probably because of the haunted house's mechanism, the entire corridor shook. The corridor split into 4 parts, and they moved to the north, south, east, and west respectively. It was precisely because she walked a little faster that she didn't end up in the same corridor as Shuangzi. This haunted house was very well made, but after all, it was a place for children to have fun. Sister, Shuangzi called twice. Luo Qingshun signaled at him and said, Stay where you are. I'll go find you. Luo Qingshun's corridor led to the eastern platform, and behind it was a dark room. Just as she walked to the door, something thick like blood flowed out. She shrugged and opened the door. A patient with scalpels stuck in his body rushed out. He was covered in blood and made a face at her. And she, before and after she saw the ghost, her expression did not change at all. The next second, the ghost looked embarrassed. He shook his head full of scalpels and said, You, how come you're not scared at all? He thought that the eastern room he was in was the scariest, of all the rooms. In the past, it was always the boys who were assigned to this room because the boys walked at the front. But today, there was only one girl who was assigned to this room, and only one girl. He even imagined that he could scare the girl until she fainted, but he did not expect. When he roared, his heart was beating nonstop, but the girl did not react at all. What a failure. As a ghost, it was an absolute defeat. Ah! In an instant, they heard Shuangxi's miserable shriek. Luo Qingchen frowned, and the exquisite ring on her right hand lightly shook, directly lighting up the room. Holy sh*T, little sister, your flashlight is very advanced. Ghost took off the scalpel on his body and asked, "Where can I buy it?" Luo Qingchen's cold eyes narrowed. The other party was so frightened that he staggered back. He swallowed his saliva and said, "Don't look at me like that. Just pretend I didn't say anything. Where do I go to get to the room in the south?" "Go out and turn left. Follow the escape stairs, and you'll see the third building. It's the south floor." As the ghost answered carefully, he looked at her with an almost worshipful gaze. Luo Qingchen took 2 steps and seemed to think of something. She looked back at him and said, "I don't think you're scary because real ghosts don't look like this." As her voice fell, the corners of her mouth rose slightly, and she disappeared into the darkness of the haunted house. The youth dressed as a ghost stood in place coldly, his eyes wide open. After repeating Luo Qingchen's words in his heart, he scratched his head and said, "Real? What is a real ghost?" After thinking for a while, he ran around the room and said, "So scary. So scary. Smiley face, hurry up and read the latest chapters." Chapter 3643. At the same time, in the southern room, there were originally 2 ghosts pretending to be nurses, but they were subdued by 3 strong men. Shuangxi was forced into a corner with 4 of the people who came in with them. They were holding knives in their hands as they approached Shuangxi step by step. "Big sister, save me." "No one can save you. Your big sister is in the easternmost position. She can't come over." The man's mouth revealed a cold smile as he said, "But this is also your big sister's fault. If she didn't choose you, perhaps you wouldn't have to die." Layers of dark shadows covered Shuangxi. He slightly lowered his eyes and was startled. His originally pure and harmless expression instantly became exceptionally cold. "Idiot, go report to the king of Hell's palace." The man raised his knife and stabbed towards Shuangxi's neck. In the blink of an eye, a golden light flashed and directly came in. Luo Qingchen held her phoenix dance sword and stood at the door. Her cold eyes were filled with killing intent. "Are you looking for death?" The man angrily said, "Since you want to be a dead couple with him, then this father will fulfill your wish." As soon as his voice fell, several large men surrounded Luo Qingchen. Moreover, each of them had a knife in their hands. The moment the golden light flashed, Shuangxi's originally cold eyes returned to their pure and harmless appearance. He loudly shouted, "Big sister, don't worry about me. Big sister, quickly run." "HM?" Luo Qingchen's voice was extremely cold. She coldly snorted and said, "I'll return the first sentence you said to me." "First sentence?" The man didn't seem to have reacted when Luo Qingchen jumped up. Her phoenix dance sword directly cut open the other's arm, and blood instantly flowed out. Your uncle. Do you think you were born in ancient times and still use a broken sword?" The man covered his painful wound and spat out a mouthful of saliva. "Let's go together." Xiao, xiao, xiao. 4 sword lights flashed and cut open their arms and thighs. The phoenix dance sword was extremely sharp. No matter how strong the arm was, the bones would be visible. "Ouch!" A series of groans came from the room. The 2 girls who were originally pretending to be ghosts quickly picked up the phone to call the police. Luo Qingchen slowly walked to Shuangxi's side. She squatted down and patted his head. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 80%. No matter if he was a cold and arrogant genius or a fool who didn't know anything, she would protect him just like how he protected her in the past. "Big sister." Shuangxi hugged her, her clear eyes sparkling with tears. "It's so good to have big sister here." Luo Qingshun gently patted his shoulder, and the light in her eyes became even colder. There was actually someone who wanted Xuanxi's life. Who could this person be? Was it the same person who had poisoned him that day? At the same time, in the Bai family, Shuanglan and Bai Xiaoqing were doing strenuous exercise in the bedroom at home while waiting for a good rest. They never thought that it wouldn't be good news, but rather a call from one of them. Young Master Lan, the two, and the others were caught. The four of us weren't there, so we escaped. Caught? Shuanglan said in a voice of disbelief. Aren't there 8 of you? Can't you deal with a woman and a fool? Smiley face, hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3644. On the other end of the phone, Xiao Chang gulped. I don't think she's an ordinary woman. I secretly went to the police station to check on them. Big Head was covered in sword wounds and was about to die. Sword wounds? Shuanglan sneered. Do you think you're filming a wuxia movie? How can it be sword wounds? It's true. Big Head's injuries are the most serious, and he's already been sent to the hospital. Xiao Chang took a deep breath. But since it's our own fault that we failed, we won't give young Master Lan away. However, I'm afraid we won't be taking any more jobs. He would never forget the look in Luo Qingshun's eyes when he walked into the room in the south. Cold, disdainful, as if she would stab him in the chest with the sword in her hand. At that moment, he felt his legs trembling uncontrollably. He felt like he was close to a demon. You guys are so weak. Shuanglan walked down from the bed naked. I don't need you guys for this. Shuanglan angrily hung up the phone and unhappily said to Bai Xiaoqing, These people are useless. Bai Xiaoqing pursed his lips. Darling, I think you're too kind. Dealing with a fool doesn't require so much planning. You just need to be quick, accurate, and ruthless. The police are already involved in the investigation. Shuanglan frowned. Although they won't give me away, I'd better stay out of the limelight for now. Darling, if you don't want to do it, we can get someone else to do it for us. Bai Xiaoqing revealed a foxy smile. Madam Shuang, don't you want to kill Xuanxi? Compared to us, if Xuanxi really becomes the successor of the Shuang family, Liamo will get even less. Shuanglan's cold eyes narrowed. Darling, it seems like you care a lot about Liamo. I don't, okay. Bai Xiaoqing knelt on the bed and stroked the man's hard chest. I only love you, but we can use Liamo as a chess piece. I'm afraid Liamo might not be willing. Shuanglan lifted her chin and stroked her delicate skin. Bai Xiaoqing stroked his hand and smiled. Liamo may not be willing, but Madame Shuang must be willing. Everyone in the world prefers to do business with smart people. Shuanglan thought about it and smiled. Baby, I think you're right. Madame Shuang will be happy to do business with me. At this moment, Li Kaiwei was drinking coffee with the young mistress of the Luo family. Yang Yaji's complexion was still a little pale, but after this period of physical and psychological treatment, although she had not recovered 100%, she had recovered 70% to 80%. However, he still couldn't be provoked. Luo Shui and Luo Sha couldn't understand why she suddenly stopped. Only she knew that it was the sound of fear from the bottom of her heart. Yaji, we can be considered old friends. Li Kaiwei put down the phone in her hand and said, You also know that old master intends to pass the inheritance to his third son, Xuanxi, but he's a fool. Although her words didn't seem like much on the surface, in reality, it was already a test. Yang Yaji naturally felt her probing. She took a sip of coffee and said, Kaiwei, if there's anything you want to say, just say it. That illegitimate daughter of your family, Luo Qingshun, you probably don't like her either. Li Kaiwei put a cube of sugar into the coffee and said, I heard that illegitimate daughter inherited 60% of Luo Banshan's assets. I'm surprised that you can tolerate it. Smiley face, hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3645. When the 3 words Luo Qingshun rang in her ears again, her face suddenly turned pale. Why? Am I wrong? 3 seconds later, Yang Yaji pulled a smile and said, You want to deal with her? She has always been by that fool's side to protect him. Li Kaiwei said truthfully, I heard that someone wanted to kill him today, but he was protected by that girl Luo Qingshun. Ahem. Yang Yaji cleared her throat and said, The people who wanted to kill him should be miserable. Li Kaiwei was stunned and said, "How do you know?" It was impossible for outsiders to know about the people who hired Shuanglan. One of the people who were detained at the police station was admitted to the ICU, and the other three were seriously injured. Although she didn't know how these strong men were defeated by a little girl like Luo Qingchun, they were seriously injured. Because that woman, she is a devil. Yang Yaji's tone suddenly became very indiscernible, carrying a cold smile as she said, "You must never provoke her, because not only will you not be able to obtain what you want, you will also lose everything you have." She so scary? Li Kaiwei was still skeptical, but she felt that with her understanding of Yang Yaji for so many years, she could say that a person was scary, which proved how scary this person was. Listen to the advice of an old friend. Yang Yaji gently pursed her lips and knocked on the table with her right hand, saying, "Don't provoke her. Even if you're lucky enough to kill that fool, you can't escape." This was the first time Li Kaiwei heard Yang Yaji praise a little girl, but she had to believe it. After all, there had never been anyone who could make Yang Yaji say such words before. "I know," Li Kaiwei said. "I will go now. If you are really embarrassed, Luo Shui and Luo Sha can be lent to you." Yang Yaji sneered and said, "After all, they have been clamoring all day to find Luo Qingshan for revenge, but they have no chance." "You mean the other two daughters of the Luo family?" "Yes." Yang Yaji's eyebrows twitched slightly. "Then, regardless of whether this matter succeeds or not, it won't do you any harm, since Luo Shui and Luo Sha want to die so badly. It would be too kind of her to stop them." She never liked the word kind. She always felt that kind and stupid lived next door in certain fields. "All right," Li Kaiwei nodded and said, "I'll have Shuanglan look for Luo Shui and Luo Sha." "Okay." Yang Yaji narrowed her eyes and felt a lot better for some reason. It wasn't that she didn't know how strong Luo Qingchun was. If Luo Shui and Luo Sha died, she could inherit their inheritance, which was definitely a good thing. After receiving the message from Li Kaiwei, Shuanglan began to contact Luo Shui and Luo Sha to meet at the coffee shop. Rich girls always like to dress up gorgeously and wear bright colors, which could bring out the so-called beauty in their hearts to the extreme. Two beautiful ladies. Shuanglan handed each of them a rose and said, "Nice to meet you. Please take care of us." Luo Shui and Luo Sha took the roses with a shy look on their faces. However, Shuanglan's heart was full of disdain. These two girls were not even a third of Luo Qingchun's beauty, let alone by Shaoqing's. No wonder Luo Banshan chose Luo Qingchun as the target for the agreement with the Shuang family. Looks were also important. After all, they were ugly and could not bring out their cards. == Chapter 3646. Young Master Lan, I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. Luo Shui blinked her bean-sized eyes. "Actually, we've met once at the banquet, but you might not remember." "How could I not remember?" Shuanglan chuckled. "Miss Luo, I've always regretted that I didn't ask you for a dance." "Young Master Lan, aren't you afraid that the other girl here will be unhappy?" Luo Shan knew that she was prettier than Luo Shui, but she didn't get Shuanglan's praise immediately, so she naturally felt unhappy. In the next second, Shuanglan raised his hand and touched her nose. "We've danced before, fool. Have you forgotten?" "Really?" "Really?" Shuanglan smiled. "At Miss Lin Shushu's birthday banquet, you wore an orange evening gown and we danced together." Luo Shui's expression changed when she heard this. Not only were the two of them sisters, but their tastes were almost the same. Shuanglan felt inexplicably happy because he had always been brooding over the fact that Luo Qingchun chose Shuangxi over him. Now it was proven that it wasn't that he wasn't handsome enough, but that Luo Qingchun had a problem with her eyes. All right. Luo Shui rolled her eyes. "Didn't we say that we'd come out to discuss a plan? What are you talking about?" "Humph." Luo Sha snorted and whispered. "Wasn't someone talking very happily just now?" Cough, cough. Shuanglan cleared his throat. "Two beauties, don't be angry. Let's focus on the bigger picture." The two looked at each other. Although they were still unhappy, they didn't want to continue this topic. Luo Shui took a sip of coffee. "Yang Yaji said that girl isn't easy to deal with. young Master Lan. Have you thought of a foolproof plan? Of course I've thought of a foolproof plan. Shuanglan's deep eyes flashed with a cold light, the corner of his mouth raised. You just need to cooperate with me. How? Next Sunday is the engagement banquet of Shuangzi and Luo Qingchen. Yang Yaji will personally bring Luo Qingchen's wedding gown to show the agreement between the two families. At that time, you just need to stop the gown and let Luo Qingchen leave the venue. Then we can guarantee that we can kill Shuangzi without fail. You really want to kill her? Luo shone naturally. She was a little scared. Luo Shui rolled up her sleeves and said, I know what to do, but that girl is very smart. I can't guarantee how long she can delay. It won't take long. As long as she leaves the venue, we will do it directly. Shuanglan narrowed her eyes and said, the engagement banquet hasn't been completed, so they are not an engaged couple. Then according to the agreement, Frost Crane would definitely let Luo Qingchen choose another husband to complete the agreement between the two families. His opportunity. Time passed quickly, and a city ushered in the biggest wedding of the rich and powerful families. The daughter of the Luo family, Luo Qingchen, and the young master of the Shuang family, Shuangzi. Almost all the people in the aristocratic circle were present. Although everyone was smiling and congratulating on the surface, they were laughing at Luo Qingchen in their hearts for choosing a fool. In the dressing room. Why hasn't the wedding gown been sent over yet? It's about to start. The MC looked at Luo Qingchen and urged her anxiously. Luo Qingchen said calmly, if it hasn't been sent over, just change into an evening gown. You don't need to be too deliberate. Ahem. The next second, Li Kaiwei coughed and said, this is the agreement between our two families and also what your father wants to see. In a chapter. Chapter 3647. Madam, you don't have to worry too much. Luo Qingchen shrugged and chuckled. I don't really care which wedding dress I use to attend the engagement party. I think it's still necessary. Frost Crane walked in slowly. Is Madame Luo still bothered by something? Is it because of little C.I.? Uncle Frost, you're thinking too much. Luo Qingchen frowned. She didn't want to involve Shuangzi in this matter. She glanced at the time and said, I'll go get it myself later. As soon as her voice fell, Luo Qingchen's phone rang. It was a call from Yang Yaji. Qingchen, your dress was taken away by Luo Shui and Rosa. Yang Yaji's tone was a little nervous. She took a deep breath and said, I didn't stop them. Sorry, she really didn't know where the two girls took Luo Qingchen's dress, but this dress was supposed to be taken from her to the Shuang family today. For Yang Yaji, Luo Qingchen was a devil. She would never provoke her again. This time, she called her because she was afraid that she would misunderstand. She deliberately took the dress. Okay, I know. Luo Qingchen hung up the phone and said, I'm going out for a while. I'll be back soon. She made 2 calls and found out where Luo Shui and Rosa were, but when she arrived, they had already left. The dress was placed in a luxury clothing brand store. The staff said that they brought the dress to be inlaid with beads. There was also a note left on the dress. Sister Qingchen, you're getting married. We don't have anything good to give you. When we saw that your dress beads fell, we helped you sew them back. This is a little gift from us. Luo Shui and Rosa. Luo Qingchen frowned. She felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't tell what it was. Ring. In the next second, her phone rang. The caller ID was Li Mo. What's wrong? Shuangzi's gone. Li Mo frowned. Come back quickly. Luo Qingchen took a deep breath and felt inexplicably uneasy. That was their engagement ceremony, and Frost Crane was also there. How could anyone take Shuangzi away under the eyes of so many people? Unless this was a plan that had been carefully planned for a long time. Who was it? Who could it be? Shuanglan or Shuangying, or Li Mo, or Bai Shaoqing? For a moment, Luo Qingchen couldn't think of anyone who dared to do such a thing. She took the bag and walked out of the luxury store. She teleported to a corner and returned to the dressing room. At this time, there was no one in the dressing room. They had probably gone to find Shuangzi. Luo Qingchen opened the door from the inside and bumped into Bai Shaoqing. In an instant, her face turned pale and she staggered backward. You? Why are you here? Bai Shaoqing's eyes were filled with disbelief. 3 minutes ago, Luo Shui told her in Shuanglan that Luo Qingchen had already left the store. How could she appear here in such a short time? Looks like you're very surprised. In the next second, Luo Qingchen raised her right hand and pulled her into the dressing room, slamming the door shut. What are you trying to do? Bai Xiaoqing was clearly nervous, but she forced herself to calm down. At this time, Shuangzi should have been taken away. She couldn't panic. Where's Shuangzi? Her voice was very cold. It was as if she wanted to freeze everything around her. End of chapter. Chapter 3648. How would I know? Bai Xiaoqing's eyes trembled. Why are you asking me about your own fiancé? Without hesitation, Luo Qingchen raised her right hand and choked Bai Xiaoqing's neck. I'll give you one more chance. Where's Shuangzi? Cough, cough. Luo Qingchen used a lot of force. Bai Xiaoqing's face turned red as she choked out. Don't do anything. There's a surveillance camera. Sizzle. With a crackling sound, the surveillance camera in the upper right corner of the room was burnt to a crisp. Bai Xiaoqing was shocked. She stared at Luo Qingchen with wide eyes. Who are you? I'll give you 3 seconds. Luo Qingchen's clear eyes were now bloodshot. If you don't tell me, I'll make sure the entire Bai family is buried with Shuangzi if she dies. Luo Qingchen's voice was so cold that Bai Xiaoqing felt her limbs turn cold. Her feet were slowly leaving the ground. The lack of oxygen made her mind a mess. However, she was unwilling to give up. She finally had a chance to take revenge on Luo Qingchen. How could she let slip by? It's useless even if you kill me, Bai Xiaoqing said with difficulty. It's too late, all right. In the next second, she let go of her right hand, and Bai Xiaoqing fell to the ground. Luo Qingchen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Since you want to die so badly, I'll fulfill your wish. With that, she left the dressing room. Just when Bai Xiaoqing thought that Luo Qingchen was just scaring her, she heaved a sigh of relief. The ceiling above his head fell with a bang, and the entire makeshift dressing room suddenly collapsed. Beep, beep. She received a message from Li Mo. The butler said that Shuangzi's phone signal disappeared at Shihai Forest. The West Sea Forest was not far from here, but because Luo Qingchen had never been there before, she could not teleport. By the time they arrived, half an hour had already passed. The Shuang family members were trying their best to find them. Even Shuang Ying, who had no intention of attending their engagement party, had come. You really know how to cause trouble. Frost Shadow snorted and said contemptuously, if I find out that this retard is playing hide and seek with us, I will beat him to death. Frost Shadow was very annoyed. He felt that this was a complete waste of his time. However, he was still his younger brother. Although he hated him, he was still a brother on the surface, so he had to come and look for him. On the other hand, Shuanglan seemed to be very anxious. He kept saying that there was a swamp in the east and there was a notice board. Shuangzi probably wouldn't go there, so he suggested that everyone go to the west. But for some reason, Luo Qingchen had a strong premonition, as if Shuangzi was in the east. It turned out that 40 minutes ago, Shuangzi was indeed in the east. In an abandoned hut, there were 2 murderous perverts. Shuanglan had never seen them before. He had found them on a forum. It was said that for so many years, as long as it was someone they wanted to kill, they had never failed. Moreover, they would never be caught by the police. Shuanglan approached the 2 of them with a tentative attitude and paid the full amount of the commission. The 2 of them did not disappoint him. They handled the matter very smoothly. 40 minutes ago, Shuangzi was tied to a large table. 2 perverted men stood in front of him, holding sharp knives. End of chapter. Chapter 3649. If you don't want to die a painful death, say something nice to us. Tui. Shuangzi spat on their faces. In your dreams, my wife will definitely come and save me. Save you. The man in black revealed an extremely cold smile and grinned. Do you think we'll give her the time to save you like in the TV series and report to the King of Hell? In the next second, the man used the sharp knife in his hand to cut Shuangzi's neck without hesitation. With a thud, Shuangzi's head fell to the ground. Blood instantly spurted out. The other man was elegantly and carefully cutting off his limbs. Every time he cut off a piece, he would feel a sense of excitement in his heart. What he loved the most was the sound of the blade slashing against the flesh. With every slash, he felt his heart leaping with joy. The man in black threw a suitcase on the ground and looked at him. "Don't dawdle. Pack it up and we'll go." "Brother, where are we teleporting to this time? I can't wait to receive the next mission." This person is a fool in this life. His fate in the next life should be very good. In order to prevent that old man king of hell from suspecting us, we have to rest for a while. But no buts. Do you want to be taken back? Hey Z and by Z were originally the previous black and white impermanents of the underworld. However, because they neglected their duties, they were imprisoned in the fiery hell. The two were dissatisfied with being treated like this after contributing so much to the underworld for so many years, so they fled. They killed many people over the years, but no one could catch them. After all, the new black and white impermanents were much weaker than them in terms of ability. However, in order to avoid being taken back by the underworld, they would disappear for a long time after completing a mission. Sometimes it would be 1 or 2 years. Sometimes it would be more than 10 years. This time, they wanted to do something big because they sensed that there was a power different from humans in this world. Therefore, they were afraid that they would have to hide for a long time this time. Bai Zi put Shuangxi's flesh piece by piece into the suitcase. He put the head at the top, then wiped the suitcase clean and put it in the forest. After that, the two of them used teleportation to leave this place. Just as they were about to teleport, a system notification suddenly sounded. "Host, someone is using a superpower." "Who?" "I don't know. It's in the east." Luo Qingshan ran towards the east without another word. Liamo was a little worried, so he followed after her. About 300 meters deep, Luo Qingshan saw a black suitcase. Seeing Luo Qingshan running over, Shuangying Shuanglan and the others also followed. The moment he saw the suitcase, Shuanglan's eyes were a little stunned. He felt an inexplicable fear in his heart because he could roughly guess what was inside the suitcase. Those two people were really ruthless. He only wanted them to kill Shuangxi, but why is there a suitcase in the depths of the forest? Shuanglan pretended to be confused as he asked, "It can't be that someone is here to travel, right? If someone is here, you can ask them about Shuangxi's whereabouts." Liamo looked at Luo Qingshan and gently patted her shoulder. "Relax. The police will be here soon. Shuangxi will be fine." This story is about to end. The next story will be about my big brother Jiao Sheng. Luli has already thought of what to write. Into this chapter. Chapter 3650. Luo Qingshan felt her heart thump, and her eyes inexplicably turned red. "It can't be, it can't be, it can't be. But don't you think it's strange?" Shuangying looked at the suitcase and said, "Why would a suitcase appear in this place? Even if someone forgot to take it, they wouldn't forget to take it in this place." Shuanglan once again showed a puzzled expression, moved her eyes, and said, "Then why?" In the next second, Luo Qingshan took a deep breath and lifted her feet to walk towards the suitcase. But the moment she got close to the suitcase, Shuangying stopped her. "Let me do it." Shuangying frowned and said, "I'm a bit suspicious. I'll do it myself." Her voice was very cold, like an ice pool in the dark night, as if her whole body was emitting waves of cold air. At this moment, she felt incomparable fear in her heart, because this kind of fear suddenly appeared. She hadn't felt this kind of fear in a long time. She always thought that she had enough power to protect the people around her, but she found that in front of layers of darkness and fog, even if she raised her vigilance by 100 points, it was useless. The enemy was in the dark, and she was in the light. If she couldn't kill the enemy in an instant, then the enemy would infiltrate around them. Little by little, until a certain moment when she made a mistake, the enemy could take advantage of it. Dee-dong, dee-dong. The sound of the police car slowly came. Luo Qingshan crouched down and felt her hands tremble. She hoped that it wasn't, but this kind of nightmarish premonition flashed through her mind again and again. Until the moment she opened the suitcase. Until the moment Shuangxi's head rolled out of the suitcase. A series of screams came from behind her, but she didn't say a word. Tears fell from her eyes drop by drop, and there was a feeling of suffocation in her heart. She couldn't help but hear the words that the arrogant voice once said to her. Big sister is so beautiful. Big sister is the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. Dash, big sister, let's go to the amusement park, okay? I want to hold little sister wife's hand and go to the amusement park together. Dash, it's not easy to have some alone time with little sister wife. Don't disturb us. I will keep him safe. Dash, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Luo Qingshun could feel her voice trembling. Snow suddenly fell from the sky. In this unsuitable season, the slightly cold snow fell on her palm, emitting a light blue shimmer. At first, Luo Qingshun thought that her eyes were playing tricks on her. After looking at it for a while, she realized that the light blue light was spreading from her palm and finally turned into the word Qing. Shuangzi Qingshun. Liamo pulled her into his embrace from behind. Calm down, calm down. Don't look anymore. In an instant, she broke free from Liamo's embrace and roared, Don't touch me. Qingshun. Luo Qingshun took a deep breath and clenched her right hand. She nodded and looked at the crowd. The person who killed Shuangzi, whether he's a human or a ghost, I won't let a single one of them go. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew past. Shuanglan's face was filled with panic. In the next second, she felt an incomparable fear in her heart. It was as if Luo Qingshun's extremely cold eyes could see through everything and see into her heart. End of chapter. Chapter 3651. Shuangzi's funeral was held 3 days later. That was the custom here. The body had to be left at home for 3 days for friends and family to take one last look. But because Shuangzi's body was a little scary, Frost Crane just put his body in a box next to the coffin. Inside the coffin, there was a cenotaph. Luo Qingshun squatted next to it, expressionless. Batches of people came to pay their respects. Everyone was crying, as if they were really heartbroken. But were they really heartbroken? Would anyone be heartbroken for someone else's family? Moreover, he was a fool. Luo Qingshun only felt that it was very ironic. But it was at this moment that she remembered many things that had happened in the past. Sometimes, he saved her not because he wanted to trade his life for hers, but because he really had no other choice. Just like here, she wanted to protect him so much, but she still couldn't escape from the villain's scheme. What could she do? What should she do? Why did she have to face such an ending even though she had worked so hard? At 10 o'clock in the evening, whispers of discussion could be heard from Shuanglan's room. Luo Qingshun happened to pass by and heard some of it. But since the door was closed, she could only find a way to eavesdrop from the balcony next door. Other than Shuanglan, there was also Bai Shaoqing. Bai Shaoqing's head was bandaged. He was really lucky. When such a big dressing room fell, he was standing in a blind spot and only suffered minor injuries. Recalling every word Luo Qingshun said to her, she couldn't help but find it funny. Wasn't the other party very powerful? Didn't he almost kill her? And in the end, she still won. Why wasn't that fool chopped into mincemeat? Wouldn't it be more exciting if he was? I say, dear, how pale have you been all day? Bai Shaoqing looked at him with a proud gaze. Now that Shuangzi is dead, you must be the heir of the Shuang family. Shuanglan didn't know why, but he kept thinking about the moment Luo Qingshun turned around and looked at him. It was as if he wanted to see through him. As for Shuangzi's body, although it had been reduced to pieces, for some reason, her tightly shut eyes seemed to be staring at him. Shuanglan's heart was filled with fear, probably because it was her first time killing someone. Oh dear, don't let your imagination run wild. Bai Shaoqing smiled and said, The most important thing you need to do now is to tell Uncle Shuang that Luo Qingshun is an inauspicious person. She is not suitable to join the Shuang clan. Only I am suitable. Yes, you are right. Shuanglan shook her head and took a deep breath. Luo Qingshun is indeed not suitable to join the Shuang clan. I will go and talk to father, yes. Bai Shaoqing revealed a proud smile and said, Go quickly. At this moment, the lights in Shuanglan's room went out. Luo Qingshun slowly stood up, ready to send the two of them to their deaths. The door to the room opened, and her father, Frost Crane, walked in. Bai Shaoqing and Shuanglan cried out at the same time. After all, The two of them had experienced strange things in the past 2 days, and their hearts were still seeping with panic. Why is the light in the room dark? Frost Crane glanced at Shuanglan and said, "Come with me to the study." Okay. Shuanglan immediately took large strides forward. Bai Xiaoqing felt a chill run down his spine and hurriedly followed after her. However, she was rejected by Frost Crane outside the study, and could only go to the hall and wait. End of chapter. Chapter 3652. Luo Qingchen didn't make a move this time because she felt that Frost Crane's expression wasn't right. Could it be that she had something to do with Xuanxi's death? She climbed over 2 balconies and arrived outside the window of the study. "Dad, why are you looking for me?" Shuanglan knew that this might be her only chance. She tried to calm herself down and said, "Dad, you want to talk to me about the heir, right? Your brother is already. You're still thinking about the heir?" Frost Crane slammed the table and said, "Are you trying to anger me to death so that you can inherit my legacy?" In the next second, Shuanglan's expression suddenly changed, and she said, No, Dad, you misunderstood me, bastard." Frost Crane said angrily, "The box with your brother's body is missing. Did you take it?" Missing? At the same time, Luo Qingchen also felt her heart skip a beat. She couldn't help but feel an inexplicable sense of anticipation. Logically speaking, this world was connected to 1,000 years ago, and there was an ability. Xuanxi might, yes. Frost Crane frowned and said, "It was Little Ing who found it. Although he usually doesn't treat Little CI well, when something really happens, he'll be busy. What are you doing?" "Dad, don't be fooled by Frost's shadow. He's such a smart person. He must be doing it for the heir." Shuanglan instantly panicked and said anxiously, "And that Liam Mo, he seems to be very concerned about Luo Qingchen, but he's secretly getting close to Luo Qingchen." Shut up." The Frost Crane angrily shouted, "Stubborn fool. Let me ask you one thing. Did you take away the box that contained Little CI? Are you not even willing to let your brother rest in peace?" "Why would I want that thing?" Shuanglan froze for a moment. She seemed to feel that she had said something wrong and quickly corrected herself. "I mean, it really wasn't me, humph," Frost Crane snorted. "I don't think you have the guts. As for the issue of the successor that you are most concerned about, if Qingchen agrees, I will let you be the successor." Frost Crane clasped his hands behind his back and walked out of the study angrily. He thought that it was impossible for Luo Qingchen to agree with him. So he left these words and left angrily. On the day of Xuanxi's burial, Shuanglan went to find Luo Qingchen. Because they couldn't find the body with the box, they burned it and buried it in a cenotaph. Luo Qingchen wore a black dress and held a black umbrella in her hand. Although she was still a little flustered, she had a more resolute premonition. Just like the day, she had a premonition that something would happen to Xuanxi. Now, he had a premonition that she would come back. No matter how long it took, she would wait for him to come back. But some people seemed to be unable to wait. Shuanglan found her in the afternoon after Xuanxi's burial. He was dressed very formally and invited her to a Western restaurant. She didn't even change her clothes. She was still wearing the morning clothes from the morning. Shuanglan looked a little embarrassed. He looked at her and said, "Qingchen, sit down. What would you like to drink?" "Young Master Lan, if you have something to say, just say it." Luo Qingchen narrowed her cold eyes and said, "After all, everyone is very busy. Actually, Little C's death, you don't deserve to mention his name." Before Shuanglan could finish, Luo Qingchen interrupted him. Her eyes were cold. Of course, she agreed to meet him for another purpose. Probably because Luo Qingchen's words were too sharp, Shuanglan's face became even uglier. He said angrily, "What do you like about him? Is it fun to spend the rest of your life with a fool like you?" End of chapter. Chapter 3653. I feel it's very interesting. Luo Qingchen curled her lips into a smile and said, "A good-looking appearance is the same, but an interesting soul can be picked. Not to mention that in my eyes, young Master Lan doesn't even have a good-looking appearance. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 90%. In that instant, Luo Qingchen and Shuanglan's expressions both changed. Of course, The reason for the change was completely different. Shuanglan's face was filled with anger, and Luo Qingchen's eyes instantly turned red. Shuangzi, don't call his name. Shuanglan angrily slapped the table and said, Luo Qingchen, you have to marry me. You don't have a choice. You can only marry me. Shuanglan's voice was like it was isolated, and Tower only felt that it was strangely soft. Why? Why didn't he appear when he clearly came back? But how did he come back? Could it be that he also had powers? Countless questions swirled in his mind. Suddenly, he had an answer. Why did this world start 1,000 years ago? Perhaps Shuangzi's identity wasn't normal. Could it be that he was Luo Qingchen? Are you listening to me? Seeing that Luo Qingchen was in a daze and didn't reply, Shuanglan felt even more anxious in her heart. After doing so much, she finally reached this step. She even killed her own little brother just to become the successor of the Shuang family. This final step, there definitely couldn't be anything that could stop her. I heard you, Luo Qingchen said with a cold laugh, but I'm not willing. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Shuanglan said through gritted teeth. I've already given you enough patience and respect. Don't force me. What'd you do if I forced you? Luo Qingchen touched her ear with her right hand and said, Would you kill me like you killed Shuangzi? The two sides faced off against each other, and the person who always smiled first was defeated. A few seconds later, Shuangzi smiled and said, Qingchen, what nonsense are you talking about? I just like you very much, so I want to marry you. Now that I think about it, if you really don't want to marry me, I can't force you, right? It's just that I've given you so much. Can you let me treat you to a private musical? When? The day after tomorrow. Shuanglan smiled and said, I'll arrange it. Sure. Luo Qingchen agreed without hesitation. Then I'll wait for young Masterland's arrangement. But only once. I was born as Shuangzi's woman, but I'm also his ghost. I won't marry anyone else in this lifetime. Don't worry, I just want a perfect ending. I won't force you anymore. As soon as she finished speaking, Shuanglan took a sip of coffee. Her deep eyes were suffused with an extremely faint coldness. Perhaps it was because after killing someone, he would want to use killing to solve any problems in front of him if he encountered any problems in the future. In fact, he was wrong from the beginning. Instead of killing Shuangzi, it was better to kill Luo Qingchen. As long as Luo Qingchen died, Shuangzi couldn't become the heir of the Shuang family. And now, he had already killed one, so he didn't mind killing one more. All right, Luo Qingchen gave a slight nod and also took a sip of the coffee in her hand. She did this for her own selfish reasons. After all, she could see the killing intent in Shuanglan's eyes. If Shuangzi didn't die, if she was in danger, he would definitely appear. She wanted to take a gamble in this world 1,000 years later. Let's end this story tomorrow. Many people asked Lu Li about the connection between this story 1,000 years ago and 1,000 years later. Actually, the outline of the story was 1,000 years of grudges and a fool's counterattack. But Qingchen was very strong. She could already protect Shuangzi, so there was nothing wrong with Shuangzi being late. As long as the real connection is mentioned at the end, everyone can think of the story 1,000 years later. Anyway, I don't like by Xiaoqing. I didn't like him 1,000 years ago. There are too many foreshadowing, so I can't solve them one by one. It's fine as long as everyone is happy. Let's wait for Big Brother Jiu Sheng to appear. This chapter ends. Chapter 3654. By the time Luo Qingchen came out of the coffee house, it was already close to evening. Snow was falling from the sky, indicating that this year's winter had come early. In fact, she herself didn't have much confidence. It's not that Shuanglan wouldn't make a move on her. It's that he would appear. But how will he appear? He was already lying in front of him, dripping with blood. How could he come back? Luo Qingchen didn't know, but she herself was suffering. He didn't love her 100%. How can he abandon her? Io, isn't this Luo Qingchen? Bai Xiaoqing called out from behind, his voice full of disdain. You didn't expect this, right? You want me dead, yet I'm still alive. She really didn't expect Bai Yanqing to still be alive. She thought she would die after falling down in the dressing room like that. But the heavens were really good to her and let her escape. So you want to die now? Her tone was very cold, causing a flash of panic to appear in Bai Xiaoqing's eyes. But in order not to show it, she put her hands on her hips and snorted at Luo Qingxin. Do you really want to kill someone in public? Do you know why that fool died? Because your sins are too deep. Pa! It was only at this moment that a crisp sound of a slap rang out. Both Bai Xiaoqing and Luo Qingxin froze for a moment. Although they were on the street, there was no one else around except for them. And that slap was so loud that Luo Qingxin could clearly see the right side of Bai Xiaoqing's face turning red. Impossible. She was already very sensitive to things like speed. If something suddenly appeared in front of her, she would have been able to detect it. Unless the other party's skills were above hers or stronger than hers. Luo Qingxin, why did you hit me? Bai Xiaoqing angrily raised her hand, intending to slap Luo Qingxin back when another loud slap rang out. Pa! The left side of Bai Xiaoqing's face also turned red. This time, Luo Qingxin was sure she was looking at Bai Xiaoqing very seriously. After all, she also intended to grab her hand and slap her back. However, she was very sure that no one had appeared. Bai Xiaoqing's face seemed to have turned red from the slap for no apparent reason. He could not be seen, but the clear and loud sound could be heard. You actually could. Although Luo Qingxin didn't know the reason, seeing Bai Xiaoqing's angry appearance, her lips curled into a faint smile as she said, whether I hit you or not, you don't know in your heart. Bai Xiaoqing, if you don't punish those who have sinned for so many years, the gods will. Luo Qingxin shrugged and said, I hope you can always be so lucky. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned and walked in another direction. Bai Xiaoqing covered his face with both hands and stomped his feet as he roared, Luo Qingxin, what are you being so arrogant for? It's your fault for liking an idiot. If the idiot dies, you deserve it. At least I haven't experienced the scene of my beloved dying in front of me. You're really... Bang! Little did she know that before Bai Xiaoqing could finish speaking, a blue truck not far away crashed into the guardrail due to the fatigue of the driver, sending her flying. One of her legs was broken, and she was sent flying 10 meters away. Her hands were wide open, and she lay on the concrete floor covered in blood. Her eyeballs were already deformed from the impact, but she still stared at the sky with her eyes wide open. End of chapter. Chapter 3655. Because she couldn't accept it. She couldn't accept dying like this. She had sacrificed so much, done so much, all for the sake of becoming more respectable and possessing more. But it seemed like it was all too late. Bai Xiaoqing watched as the snowflakes drifted down bit by bit. She seemed to know that she was about to die, but her body was still in extreme pain. A man in a shirt seemed to be slowly walking towards her. Only when he got closer did she get a clear look at his face. Handsome, confident, cold, devilish, this face looked very familiar, but those eyes made people feel extremely unfamiliar. The surroundings were pitch black, as though they were in hell. The youth narrowed his eyes as he stood in front of her. Do you want to go to the 18th level of hell, or the 17th? Then let's go to the 18th level. Luo Qingxin didn't walk over to see Bai Xiaoqing lying in a pool of blood. After such a violent impact, there was no way she could survive. Moreover, she didn't want her to live in the first place. After returning home, Liamo looked for her for a cup of coffee. He didn't seem to be in a good mood. When he looked at her, his eyes flickered. Qingxin, haven't met a long time ago. Luo Qingxin didn't know why Liamo would suddenly ask such a question. Instead, her lips curled into a cold smile. Do you still like Bai Xiaoqing here? Here. Bai Xiaoqing is dead. Luo Qingxin raised her eyebrows slightly. If you go to the hospital now, you should still be able to see her one last time. Liamo froze for a moment. He wanted to say something, but Luo Qingxin had already stood up and left. After calling her name, he said, I've been having a dream recently, a very strange dream. In the dream, I felt like I was in ancient times, and in the dream, you were always by my side. Then you must have dreamt of Bai Xiaoqing. Luo Qingxin chuckled. In the dream, you probably liked Bai Xiaoqing a lot. She didn't say anything else. Instead, she took a light step and left the garden. Liamo stood in place for a long time before softly muttering in a self-deprecating manner in my dreams. I also liked you. After Bai Xiaoqing's death, the police had come to her house to look for her. They wanted to ask her about what had happened. After all, the spot where Bai Xiaoqing had been standing was a blind spot of the camera. They also asked her why she hadn't called for an ambulance immediately. I had already left at that time. The surveillance cameras should have captured it. That's right. The policeman bowed and said, "It's mainly because the Bai family wanted to ask Miss Luo. Why didn't they call the police and call the ambulance immediately?" "Why?" Luo Qingxun coldly snorted. "What do you think?" The policeman was speechless. The Luo family was not easy to deal with. Although he was a police officer, he still had to pay attention to his words. "Because..." Luo Qingxun's lips curled into a faint smile. "I want her to die. You can pass on my words to the Bai family as they are." Luo Qingxun chuckled. "I don't mind." The next morning, Luo Qingxun received a call from Yang Yaji. Luo Shui and Luo Sha had gone hiking with a few good friends yesterday. They didn't expect to meet with an accident, and both of them fell off a cliff. Originally, they weren't dead, but because they didn't leave a good impression on their friends, no one went to look for them. The doctor said that the two of them spent the 3 hours after falling off the cliff in agony. One of them had a sharp object piercing her lung, while the other had a broken bone. In short, they died in agony. End of chapter. Chapter 3656. By the time the police found them, they had already been dead for 7 or 8 hours. "Qingxun, I'm actually calling to ask." Yang Yaji sounded very nervous on the other end of the phone. She had witnessed firsthand how terrifying Luo Qingxun was. Talking to her was like talking to the Grim Reaper. "It wasn't me." Luo Qingxun interrupted Yang Yaji without hesitation. "There's always an excuse for a heavenly disaster, but there's no escape for a self-inflicted disaster. Whether Luo Shui and Luo Sha's deaths were accidental or man-made, the result was obvious. If she guessed correctly, Shuangxi's death had something to do with the two of them. She had taken away her gown that day, which was enough to prove that they were also involved in the plan to kill Shuangxi. Qingxun, actually, I don't mean anything by asking this question. It's just that, I've said it before. As long as you don't provoke me, I don't care if you're a good person or a bad person," Luo Qingxun said coldly. "I also don't care if you're doing good or bad things." As soon as her voice fell, Luo Qingxun hung up without any hesitation. Yang Yazi let out a long sigh of relief. Sitting beside her, Li Kaiwei asked anxiously, "Did she suspect us?" "We really didn't do anything." Following the deaths of Bai Xiaoqing, Luo Shui, and Luo Sha, Li Kaiwei suddenly panicked. After all, although they didn't do anything to Shuangxi, they knew very well who did it. It was just that they decided to stop while carrying out the plan. "I don't know if she suspects you, but I should be safe now." Yang Yaji took a deep breath. "I told you before not to provoke her. She's a devil, okay?" "That's right. So many people have already died. I wonder who'll be the next to die." Li Saiwei's entire body trembled. "I'll have Liemo bring me out of the country to lie low for a while. I don't know who will be the next, but from her tone, this matter isn't over yet." Of course, this matter wasn't over yet. Shuanglan booked the entire hall for Yaoyuo De's musical. When Luo Qingxun arrived, it was exactly 7:30 in the evening. There was only Shuanglan in the entire musical theater hall. He seemed to be wearing a vampire costume with an English round hat. He lit a cigarette and took a puff. When he saw Luo Qingxun walk in, the corner of his mouth outlined a wicked smile. "Qingxun, you're finally here." He took out a rose with his left hand and looked at her. "I've been waiting for you for a long time." Luo Qingxun's cold eyes narrowed. She didn't take the roses, but looked at him with a sneer and said, "You killed Shuangxi, right?" "I already know." At this moment, the roses in Shuanglan's hand seemed particularly awkward. He took a deep puff of the cigarette, threw it to the ground, and stomped on it. "Qingxun, what are you talking about? How could I kill my brother? He's my brother. You asked me out today to kill me, right?" Luo Qingxun narrowed her eyes. "Of course, that's under the premise that I'm not willing to marry you." Shuanglan's expression changed. It was as if he was a completely different person from his previous elegant appearance. For a long time, the air was silent. After an unknown amount of time, Shuanglan coldly said, "So, Are you willing to marry me? Luo Qingchun gave two cold laughs. You look like this. Why should I marry you? Do you think you're even a tenth as good-looking as Shuangzi? End of chapter. Chapter 36:57. After that, Shuanglan's face turned red as he angrily roared. Then he is a fool. What qualification does a fool have to be the successor? Why does he have a wife? I'm young and promising. So what if I'm not as good-looking as him? He is still a fool in the end. But I prefer this fool. Luo Qingchun slightly narrowed her eyes and said, I will always prefer him. After a while, there was a cold laugh that filled the air. He. Shuanglan took out a revolver with a silencer from his pocket and pointed it at her head as he said, Then you can go to hell with him. Ha ha. Luo Qingchun suddenly gave two laughs, but there wasn't a trace of nervousness in her eyes. What are you laughing at? Shuanglan was stunned. He didn't understand what Luo Qingchun's bright smile meant. I'm happy. Luo Qingchun put her hands in her pocket and closed her eyes as she said, I really want to go to hell with him. These were the words she had muttered in her heart every time he abandoned her for thousands of years. But today, she actually said it out loud. Shuanglan's face became more and more ugly. He had come prepared today, and the car was already waiting outside. If she died, she would be sent up the mountain, and her body would be taken care of. After doing this kind of thing once, he wouldn't panic the second time. All right. Shuanglan loaded the gun and looked at her as he said, Then you can go to hell. Pung. The moment the bullet came out of the muzzle, Luo Qingchun didn't open her eyes. She was waiting for an expectation, waiting for a miracle, waiting for a chance to save herself. Ding. Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 100%. In an instant, a black figure appeared in front of her. She saw him wave his left hand, and the bullet disappeared. In the next second, she suddenly opened her eyes. Her clear eyes instantly turned red. Who are you? Shuanglan's face instantly turned pale when she saw the bullet she shot out disappear, just like that. However, the young man didn't listen to her at all. Instead, he gently raised his right hand and tucked the stray hair in front of her forehead behind her ear. Taking risks like this isn't cute. His voice was very low, as if he had finally woken up after a long night. Luo Qingchun bit her lower lip and took a deep breath. Because I knew that if you were still alive, you would definitely come. What if I die? His cold and gentle voice slowly drifted into her ears. She lowered her eyes and chuckled. I've already said it. Going to hell with you is a very happy thing for me. I won't let you accompany me to hell. The youth's eyebrows twitched slightly. Because I can't bear to... You. Are you done talking? Shuanglan shook the gun and said, You. Who are you? Also, Luo Qingchun, didn't you just say you love my little brother the most? Now you're talking to a strange man. You really are shameless. Little did he know that before he could say a word, he felt as if his neck was being strangled by something. But when his hands touched his neck, there was nothing at all. Only the invisible thing strangling his neck became tighter and tighter, making it hard for him to breathe. You. After that, the black-clothed youth slowly turned around to look at him and said, Let me introduce myself again. I am Shuangzi. Don't update after midnight. Straight to the end. End of this chapter. Chapter 36:58. What? Shuanglan staggered back and directly fell to the ground. Aren't you already? Impossible. How is this possible? Why is it impossible? Shuangzi held her hand with his right hand. That handsome and cold face flashed with a touch of killing intent, looked at Shuanglan and said, Don't you know? Some people are born injured, their wounds can heal, and I happen to be this kind of person. Impossible. Shuanglan desperately shook her head and said, I am a person who believes in science, and you are obviously a fool. Shuanglan, do you really think so? Shuangzi's mouth outlined a very cold smile and said, Maybe I just want to use another way to get close to the person I love. The moment his voice fell, he could feel the hand in his palm tremble a bit. He didn't say anything and held it even tighter. He really used a rotten and affectionate reason to tell all of this. But she didn't know why when he said this sentence. It made her eyes redden. No, Shuanglan roared. You have been a fool since childhood. You have been a fool all your life. You will always be a fool. Shuanglan began to speak incoherently. His trembling hands picked up the pistol in his hand, closed his eyes, and madly shot. While shooting, he didn't forget to roar, "Go to hell. All of you go to hell." Shoo! The next second, Shuangzi gently waved his right hand, and all the bullets disappeared in the air in an instant. A few seconds later, Shuanglan desperately gasped for breath and slowly opened her eyes. Shuangzi was still standing in front of her, protecting Luo Qingshan behind him. His deep eyes flashed with a fine cold light. "Ah!" Shuanglan screamed as if she was about to break down. Her voice trembled as she roared. "Who are you? Who are you?" "Me?" Shuangzi's voice was very lazy, but with a chill that made people's hair stand on end. An immortal god. His voice fell, only to see his right hand slightly raised. With a touch of light blue light, Shuanglan was instantly bound by an invisible blue light, and a burning fire began to appear around him. "What are you doing?" Shuanglan took a deep breath and said, Little Si, I am your brother. Don't mess around. I still love you in my heart." "So loving your brother, you want to let him be cut into pieces?" Shuangzi sneered and said. "Or do you want to die that way more?" No. Shuanglan desperately shook her head. Don't. Give me a chance." Hearing Shuangzi's a cold smile, holding Qingshan's hand, Luo Qingshan's hand slowly turned. The moment they walked out of the concert hall, there was a bang sound behind them. Before Shuanglan was blown to pieces, Shuangzi's low and cold voice echoed throughout the concert hall. That was the answer he gave him. "If you didn't want to kill her, perhaps I would have let you go. Unfortunately, that's someone I can't bear to see even a little bit of hurt." Half an hour later, Speed Hotel. Luo Qingshan sat on the sofa in the hotel, her heart inexplicably beating fast. Shuangzi indeed couldn't go home now, but certainly couldn't walk around on the streets. What if she ran into paparazzi? Luo Qingshan wanted to find a way to tell Shuangying first, but she didn't expect Shuangzi to leave first. "I think it's better to stay in the hotel first, and let second brother come after we settle down." "Okay." But in her heart, she couldn't help but think, what does settling down mean? Chapter 36:59. The hotel room was filled with the faint fragrance of shower gel. In fact, she hadn't completely adapted to this Shuangzi. She always felt that he was Shuangzi, but it also didn't seem like he was. That pair of deep ink-like eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Luo Qingshan gently shook her head and coughed twice. "I'm going to buy something to eat." "What do you want to eat?" "Gotcha." In the next second, the bathroom door was opened. The air was instantly surrounded by the fragrance of shower gel. Shuangzi slightly narrowed his eyes and said, "Is anything okay?" His voice was gentle with a touch of playfulness, and the ambiguous atmosphere was instantly filled. "Of course not." Luo Qingshan gently bit her lips and said, "You'll eat whatever I buy." As soon as her voice fell, she was about to walk to the door. Little did she know, his right hand suddenly grabbed her wrist and pulled her to his side. "Qingshan, I'm not hungry at all." "You don't go yet." Shuangzi pulled back his arms and hugged her tightly. "I miss you very much." Luo Qingshan was slightly stunned and suddenly inexplicably wanted to cry. Sometimes parting was terrible, but reuniting after parting was equally frightening. "It's good that you're back." Luo Qingshan gently bit her lips and said, "I knew you would definitely come back. I shouldn't have come back at this time." Shuangzi's eyebrows moved slightly. "I still need to spend a little more time." Also, Luo Qingshan was stunned for a moment and wanted to break free from his embrace. But the result was that she was hugged even tighter. "Probably to work for the King of Hell for a few more years." Shuangzi chuckled. "We've met before in the underworld." Luo Qingshan was stunned for a moment, and suddenly the fragmented pieces in her mind were connected together. "You are." Luo Qingshan slowly raised her eyes and said, "I actually just thought of it, and..." Shuangzi nodded lightly. She pressed her right hand against the wall behind her and said, "So sister should be punished." "Sister?" Luo Qingshan felt her whole body tremble. It was obviously the same face, but why did it feel like there was such a big difference? What's wrong? Shuangzi smiled and said, when I called you sister before, weren't you very happy? The past is the past, and the present is the present. Luo Qingxin's eyebrows trembled as she said, this can't be considered the same. I think it's fine. I don't think so. In the next second, she heard a cabinet sound. Her hands are tied up by Shuangzi, and a hint of evil flashed across her originally clean eyes. You, calm down. If big sister. Ugh. Little did she know that before Luo Qingxian could finish, Shuangzi had already covered her mouth. He sucked on her, tossing and turning. Sister, in fact, I still have a secret that I haven't told you. Luo Qingxian almost struggled to find the time to use it deliberately. She questioned him, what do you mean? In fact, as a fool, I shouldn't die so quickly. Shuangzi kissed her and said, but I can't wait anymore, Shuangzi. In fact, there are risks. Shuangzi gently kissed her lips again. He hugged her waist and said, but I'm willing to take all the risks. I just want to return to you as soon as possible. Wait. Luo Qingxian was carried from the corner in front of the bathroom to the bedroom by Shuangzi. Her brain hadn't been completely brainwashed by him yet. She gently blinked, looked at him, and said, so, what do you want to do? Shuangzi's eyes flashed a very faint light. Do what every man wants to do. Chapter 3660. At that moment, Luo Qingxian scolded him in her heart. Rogue. However, he was still unable to reject his layers of probing. In the end, he could only give up and surrender. When she woke up, it was already the next morning. Today's morning paper had a new article about Shuanglan's death in the fire. In less than 10 days, Frost Crane had lost 2 sons at the same time, which made him grieve. Shuanglan's death looked even worse than Shuangzi's when he was cut into pieces. There was almost no part of his body that was intact. Every part of his body was charred black and looked particularly shocking. Of course, these photos were sent to her by Shuangying. At the end of the photos was his question. Did you do it? Luo Qingxian's hands quickly typed on the phone, quickly answering his question. I have the ability, but it wasn't me. Shuangying was naturally smart. During this period of time, so many people had died in this circle, and these people were all related to Shuangzi's death. He was a smart person. Naturally, his first suspicion was Luo Qingxian, but she denied it. He didn't think she was a person who would lie. Yes was yes, and no was no. Frost Crane was very sad, almost heartbroken. In this case, Shuangying didn't seem to want to be the heir. Too many of the so-called heirs had died in this generation. Liamo called her and told her to come back and take a look. Do you want to go back? Luo Qingxian bit her lip and said, I feel like going back like this will cause a lot of criticism. After all, many people had seen how Shuangzi looked like she was being dismembered. Shuangzi didn't care at all. Occasionally, he played with her hair and said, if you want to go back, then go back. If you don't want to go back, then don't go back. What do you mean she could go back if she wanted to? How did it become her choice? Aren't you afraid that people will talk about you when you go back? It doesn't matter. Aren't you afraid of scaring people? It doesn't matter. Shuangying is so smart. Aren't you afraid that he will find out? Shuangzi stopped fiddling with her hands and narrowed her eyes. You think he's smarter than me? No. Luo Qingxian hurriedly shook her head. Absolutely not. Why did he suddenly feel that a certain someone was still a little silly and scary? He was so two-faced. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Luo Qingxian took Shuangzi back to the Frost Crane's house. Frost Crane almost fainted. Everyone looked at Shuangzi in disbelief. Luo Qingxian guessed right. The first one to react was indeed Frost Shadow. He walked forward and looked at Shuangzi for a long time. Then, as if he had understood something, he said, How long has it been since we last met? More than 10 years, Shuangzi said. You're finally back. No one seemed to understand the conversation between the two of them. Even Luo Qingxian didn't understand it very well, but they felt like they understood each other. Perhaps this was the world of geniuses. 7 months later, the Shuangs held a brainpower competition. All the aristocrats in a city could participate. The last two were still Shuangying and Shuangzi. Frost Crane intended to let the winner of this competition be his successor. But in the end, Shuangzi gave up. Why? Shuangying looked at him and said, "Do you know how long I've waited for this day? We must have a result." "You win." "Why?" he asked again. Shuangzi's mouth outlined a very faint smile. She looked at Luo Qingshun and said, "Because since ancient times, beautiful women are trouble." End. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 3661. 1,000 years, the cycle of karma. You, on the other hand, still caught my eye. Shuangzi. I don't know how much of the story from 1,000 years ago you remember, but at that time, I didn't care about you. I only felt that because I became a lush tree, your family's harvest was very small, and I felt bad. I knew that you were suffering in this life, so I planned to let you live a warmer life in your next life. But I never thought that my intervention would cause you to lose the chance to reincarnate. And I don't know any of this. 1,000 years later, we met again in the underworld. At that time, I only felt that this feeling was very strange, as if fate had really come. Or perhaps that one time I had lost my mind. Shuangzi didn't exist in the first place. She was a character that I made up in that world. Although she was born from my stomach, her name wasn't on the underworld's roster. In order to not let that old man Yama have too much suspicion, I sealed my divine power and cast a curse on myself. I know everything that I have experienced, or what has happened, but I can't recover my abilities. Unless I died. There are some things that are beyond my control, so I can only try to recover my divine power as soon as possible within my control. At that banquet, I was the one who poisoned her. I really did want to poison myself to recover my divine power faster. But I didn't think that my brain wasn't good enough, and I didn't succeed in poisoning myself. As a fool, most of the time my world was a bit blurry, and the words I said weren't all what I wanted to say. But there was one thing I remembered very clearly. That fool only called her sister. I broke through the layers of fog and added a wife on top of the sister in this life. Sometimes I could suddenly understand why the fool was so pure, because his mind was a blank. There were no so-called emotions. In short, there was nothing. And the only thing I could do was to die before they dealt with her. After all, whether it was the Shuang family, the Luo family, or Bai Shaoqing, they all wanted her life. At that time, I roughly knew that she had some ability, but I was still worried. Finally, in my daze, I knew that Shuanglan might want to kill me first. After knowing this, I was so happy that I couldn't sleep the entire night, finally waiting for this day. It was very painful when I died, but my heart was filled with happiness. After dying, I needed time to recover my divine power, but when I saw her eyes of despair, that was the first time I felt regret. That regret spread from the depths of my heart, making it hard for me to breathe. I couldn't use my divine power because it would take me longer to recover and I might suffer a backlash. But I didn't care that much at that time. I wanted to tell her that I was still alive. She was very smart and understood almost immediately, but her eyes were still red. I knew that I couldn't make her wait. She desperately wanted me to appear, and I also desperately forced myself to appear. When two extremes met, it was truly terrifying. There was a price. But so what? At least in this life, I can be with her forever. Ding, congratulations on bringing a soul fragment into the lead god space. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 3662. The story that followed. Shuangzi always thought that the price he had to pay was related to himself, but he never thought that this price was actually related to Luo Qingshun. In the 6th year after they got married, Luo Qingshun's memory began to slowly deteriorate. The more recent things were, the less clear she was. The more distant things were, the clearer she remembered them. Shuangzi took her to all the hospitals they could go to, but there was no way to control her condition. On her deathbed, she was like a child. While being carried by him, she whispered in his ear, "Hubby, let's go home." In fact, Luo Qingshun's consciousness was already very hazy at that time. Shuangzi would tell her some of the stories that had happened between them in the past, warm and bitter. He used his divine power to calculate the date of her return. When she was about to die, he gently patted her head and said, "Don't be afraid, I'll be there soon." And Luo Qingshun gently shook her head and said with difficulty, "Whether we can meet again or not, I thank the heavens for letting us meet again and again. Good girl. As an immortal god, Xuanzi felt the pain of his heart being pierced for the first time. He couldn't save her life. He couldn't do anything. The only thing he could do was to personally take her soul and take her to another world. There, he would find a way to let her obtain eternal life like him. That way, he could be with her forever. But when she stopped breathing, he didn't see her soul. Even the black and white impermanence didn't come. He charged into the underworld like a madman, but there was no trace of her soul in the entire underworld. It was as if she didn't belong to this world and suddenly disappeared. No matter how he looked, he couldn't find her. Later on, he searched through all 18 levels of the netherworld. Later, he personally killed the previous black and white impermanents who had harmed him in the human world. Later, he would come to the underworld every other year. Later, it was said that he died later. In order to find her, the immortal god didn't hesitate to pay any price, including death. In the end, no one knew whether or not this god found the person in his heart. Everyone only knew that he loved her very, very much. When he opened his eyes again, he was in the primal chaos space. Luo Qingshun felt that it was nice to have her memories suddenly come back. It turned out that when a person was stupid, they weren't really stupid. Their consciousness was still there, but they couldn't control their actions and words. Front row prompt. The host did not complete the previous mission. Therefore, experience points will not be added. What mission? Xuanzi did not become the heir of the Xuan clan. Name, Luo Qingshun Space. The immortal god. The heir is a fool. Mission completion rate. 100% EXP. 6,000/10,000 currently. There are 5 items in the portable space. April 5th, Exquisite Ring. 9-section Moon Whip. Phoenix Dance Sword. Universal Medicine Box. Permanent ability. Space and Time Freeze LV7. Permanent ability. Teleportation LV6. Permanent ability. Telekinesis LV3. Exchange points. For 500, obtained a special ability bestowed by the Lord God, one time. Can be used in any plane. The basic panel of the 55th mission is below. Appearance, 100 out of 100 stamina, 100 out of 100 intelligence, 100 out of 100 figure, 100 out of 100 after that. The image in the bronze mirror changed. Mission grade, SS, experience gained, 500. Female lead, Luo Qingshun male lead. Du Jiusheng supporting female lead. Bai Ning supporting male lead. Fu Lin mission content. Welcome host to a special plane. As usual, all the missions depend on the host's performance. Luo Qingshun suddenly thought of something and said with a cold laugh, suddenly giving me all my abilities and not letting me use them. This feeling really isn't that good. Memories have been released. Please check them, host. This chapter ends. Chapter 3663. Before accepting the memories, she was in a bit of a daze and her heart was slightly flustered. After going through so many special planes, what else could happen? But she was very clear about what she wanted. Live, live, that boy can live. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and began to accept the memories of the previous host. The father of the previous host had 2 wives. The first wife was the mother of the previous host and her little brother. However, her mother, Lin Lan, died in an accident 3 years ago and left the world in a hurry. The previous host's little brother suddenly contracted a strange disease when he was 16. He couldn't move or speak. Other than being able to eat and open his eyes, he was no different from a vegetable. After Lin Lan died, the previous host's father, Luo Yi, married a new wife, White Rose. It was said that she wasn't originally called White Rose, but later changed her name. She and her ex-husband had a daughter. Their daughter's name was Bai Ning. White Rose and Luo Yi were high school classmates. The two were desk mates for 3 years. Luo Yi was very popular in high school. Many people liked him, and White Rose naturally liked him. However, Luo Yi only cared about studying at that time and didn't care about the matters between men and women. White Rose was so openly in love with him. She confessed every 2 or 3 days, but unfortunately, she didn't get a response. In the end, Luo he was admitted to the best university in a city with the best grades in the college entrance exam. White Rose's grades naturally couldn't pass the exam, but she could attend C University as a student. She was in a different class from Luo E. Luo E was still very popular in university. By chance, he and Linlon fell in love at first sight. The two quickly fell in love, young and hot. Not long after, Linlon became pregnant with the previous host. Luo E was a very responsible person. He decided to marry Linlon and give birth to the previous host. After graduation, the family lived happily. Not long after, Linlon became pregnant with her second child. It was the previous host's little brother, Luo Xingchen. Because the previous host's parents were very good-looking, Luo Xingchen was very handsome when he was young. When he was in kindergarten, many little girls wanted to play with him. These days continued until Luo Xingchen was 16. He didn't know why he contracted a strange disease. The original owner's family had taken him to countless hospitals, but the results were almost the same. There was nothing wrong with his physical examination report. No one could find out why he suddenly became like this. They could only spare no effort to take care of him. Unfortunately, a few years later, Linlon met with an accident and left the world. Luo E brought his son and daughter to meet the divorced Bai Ning again. Bai Ning was still warm to him and told him everything that had happened in the past. Finally, Luo E was moved. He had done everything he could for his former wife, Linlon. Now that he had met someone who had loved him for so many years, it was normal for him to want to spend the rest of his life with her. The original owner didn't object and brought his brother Luo E to the Bai family. Although it was clear that Luo E was marrying White Rose, in fact, everyone in the Luo family was marrying into her family. The feeling of living under someone else's roof was not good, but Bai Ning was not a kind person. She was a princess who had been pampered since she was a child. Now that 3 people had suddenly barged into her life, she naturally felt very upset. In a chapter 3664. But she had to show incomparable love and affection to the original owner. There was only one reason. She won her heart. Bai Ning was born with heart disease. She couldn't find a matching heart for a long time. On the second day after the original owner moved into the Bai family, the private doctor came to do a family checkup. Bai Ning found that the original owner's heart was a match for hers. In order to get this heart, she carried out a big plan. The supporting male lead, Fu Lin, and Bai Ning were childhood sweethearts. Fu Lin liked Bai Ning since they were young, but Bai Ning didn't have much interest in Fu Lin. She just kept him in suspense, neither accepting nor rejecting him. Fu Lin also knew that Bai Ning's heart wasn't good. These few years, he had been looking for a suitable heart for her. During this period, he also did a lot of shady things. Fu Lin did this because he felt that Bai Ning liked him too. It was just that her heart wasn't good, so she didn't get together with him. When he found out that the original owner's heart was a match for Bai Ning's, he started to get close to the original owner according to Bai Ning's plan and became the original owner's boyfriend. Fu Lin was handsome, tall, and handsome. He always had a way of saying flirtatious words. The original owner, an innocent little rabbit, quickly fell in love. However, this love eventually became the abyss where she walked on the road of no return. Fu Lin dated the original owner while thinking of ways to ask her to go abroad. Some things were too blatant in the country, so they had to go abroad. When a person disappears overseas, no one will know. After 3 months of dating, the original owner and Fu Lin went to country A. At this time, her father, Luo E, was on vacation with White Rose in country C. She left after informing her brother. Before she left, Luo Xingchen widened his eyes and wanted to stop her from leaving with his gaze. But at that time, the original owner was immersed in her love and didn't understand Luo Xingchen's gaze at all. In the end, on the 3rd day after arriving in country A, the original owner died in a high-end private hospital. After a dose of anesthesia, her chest was cut open and her heart was taken out. After Fu Lin changed Bai Ning's heart without anyone knowing, he disposed of the original owner's body abroad. The original owner's life ended just like that. Originally, such a story might not have been able to cause such a strong obsession to reach the bronze mirror in the chaos space. But the terrifying thing was that Bai Ning and her heart had a repulsive effect. Fu Lin thought that perhaps Luo Xingqian's heart could also be a match for it. With the mentality of giving a try, he asked the private doctor to examine Luo Xingqian again. God seemed to be on their side time and time again. Luo Xingqian's heart was actually compatible with Bai Ning's. Just like that, Fu Lin used the same method to kill Luo Xingqian. This was the life of the original host and the Luo family. Many things happened during this period. For example, the original owner was mocked by many people. Fu Lin stood on her side on the surface, but in reality, he made her suffer even more. For example, Bai Ning called her sister on the surface, but in reality, she was always embarrassing her. Luo Qingqian's eyes trembled slightly as she glanced at the time. This was the day Fu Lin had asked her out for a meal for the first time. She remembered that she had withdrawn from a very important operation. That 50-year-old woman had not been able to escape death and had died on the operating table. And the original owner's occupation was a doctor. Because of her brother's strange illness, she was determined to become a doctor and study Luo Xingqian's illness. In the end, she didn't expect that both of them would die at the hands of the same person. Being a doctor really made one feel ridiculed. End of chapter. Chapter 3665. Luo Qingqian turned off her phone and walked toward the hospital. The original host was a very good cardiopulmonary surgeon. Although Luo Qingqian's medical skills were also good, she still sighed at the original host's medical skills. This kind of medical skills were not used to benefit mankind, but were killed by a useless person. It was really ridiculous. However, there seemed to be a person missing in this story. Or perhaps it was because that person didn't appear. Luo Qingqian took a deep breath and walked towards the hospital. As soon as she entered the hospital, the entire hall was very chaotic. The nurse on duty saw her and hurriedly said, "Dr. Luo, please help. There was a big explosion at the chemical plant in Area C. Many hospitals are already overcrowded, and the injured have been sent here." Luo Qingqian frowned and nodded, walking towards the office on the second floor. She had to do the aunt's surgery first. After all, in the original host world, the great god had already died once. In this parallel world, she couldn't let her die a second time. Luo Qingqian changed her clothes and walked towards the operating table. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This time was the time when the original host and Fu Lin met. It was probably going to rain today. She remembered that he didn't bring an umbrella. Thinking of this, Luo Qingqian's mouth unconsciously raised a faint smile. After 3 hours of fighting with the god of death, Luo Qingqian finally raced against time to save this aunt. Everyone has worked hard. Luo Qingqian took off her mask and said, "Shall you suture the wound and observe the patient for half an hour? If there are any abnormalities, immediately call me. Forget it, call the line on the first floor." "What's wrong?" "Qingqian, is your phone broken?" Luo Qingqian chuckled and shook her head. "No, it's just to prevent harassment. I'll go to the hall to see the explosion." "Okay, go quickly." Xiaoyu showed a worried look and said, "It seems quite serious this time." When Luo Qingqian returned to the hall on the first floor, there were more injured people being sent in one after another. Just as she was about to walk to one of the stretchers, a deafening gunshot rang out. Bang! With this, the entire hall let out a loud scream, and then it quieted down. About 7 or 8 fully armed men with machine guns rushed into the hospital. Luo Qingqian's back is facing them. She looks at them from the corner of her eye and thinks they are foreigners. The one is ZDR, Wang Wei. The other party spoke in English. Very fluent English. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, and no one dared to reply. Luo Qingqian's heart thumped. She was slightly hesitant. In the past, she would have turned around and responded without hesitation, but now she hesitated. In this special plane, she didn't have any abilities or a system. If the bullet had pierced her chest, she would have died without a doubt. The next second, seeing that no one responded, the man in the lead grabbed an injured little girl whose hand was wrapped in bandages not far away. He pressed a dagger against her neck and said, "Ill, kill Herafito's shout." Luo Qingqian took a deep breath turned around abruptly and said, "Please, calm down, nilkle him." In an instant, Luo Qingshun took out her phone, turned it on, and immediately called Dr. Wang Wei. The other party is obviously not an ordinary person. She guessed that they should be international mercenaries. Moreover, they have a strong background. The call didn't go through. The moment the prompt sounded, the man in the lead took out his submachine gun again and fired a dozen shots at the two sides. He said in broken Chinese, "If I don't see him, all of you will die. Good night." End of chapter. Chapter 3666. The people standing on the left and right gave pitiful cries before falling into a pool of blood. Luo Qingshun looked calm on the surface, but her palms couldn't help breaking out in a cold sweat. These people didn't care about death at all. As long as they achieved their goal, the process didn't matter. Ring. In the next second, the phone at the front desk suddenly rang. The nurse who had been hiding under the table didn't even have the strength to stand up now. Everyone's attention fell onto the phone. Luo Qingshun raised her hands and said, "I Answorth theft phone. It may be Dr. Wang." The other side coldly replied and waved the gun, indicating that she could go over. Luo Qingshun took a deep breath, hoping that the person who answered the phone was Wang Wei. Otherwise, she really couldn't guarantee that she wouldn't be shot in the head. "Hey, Qingshun, the patient you just operated on is fine," Xiao Yu said in a very relaxed voice. "Qingshun is really powerful. This complicated operation really opened my eyes." "Cuckoo." Luo Qingshun gave 2 coughs before saying, "Dr. Wang, please come to the hospital lobby. Someone is looking for you." "Qingshun, what are you saying?" "What, Dr. Wang?" Xiao Yu was still in a daze. "Also, I seem to have heard some pong sounds. Did they come from below?" Because the sound insulation in the operating room was very good, it was normal for Xiao Yu not to hear the gunshots. "That zzz." There was a voice that was as cold as ice that suddenly sounded in her ears. "I'm the Chief Commander of the Special National Defense Forces, Major Du Jiusheng." In this situation, Du Jiusheng's voice made Luo Qingshun stunned. But the strange thing was that her nervous heart let out a sigh of relief because of his words. "Our snipers are on the roof of the opposite building, ready to shoot at any moment. You have to listen carefully. Whatever I'm about to say, you have to obey me absolutely." Du Jiusheng's voice was very cold and filled with absolute power. Just by listening to his voice, Luo Qingshun could almost imagine his appearance. She replied softly. Du Jiusheng continued, "Have James come over later and tell him that the person he's looking for has replied." But the moment he picked up the phone, you immediately squatted down and covered your head. "Do you understand?" "Yes." With the phone in her right hand, she turned around and looked at James, who was the leader, and said, "Dr. Wameth, I don't answer phone." "Okay." The other party walked towards her step by step with the gun in his hand. It would be a lie if he said that he wasn't nervous. She was indeed very nervous, but this was the first time she couldn't show her nervousness. However, Luo Qingshun didn't realize that the people she was facing at this moment were international mercenaries. The indifference she displayed was extremely abnormal in his eyes. Luo Qingshun never thought that when he was about to pick up the phone, he would grab her neck. The perfect amount of strength immediately made it difficult for her to breathe. His other hand pressed the speaker, and he continued speaking in broken Chinese. "I'm guessing that it's you. Major Du, this kind of phone call was the most basic operation for people like them." Of course, James felt that something was wrong because Luo Qingshun's expression was too calm. End of this chapter. Chapter 3667. It's me. In an instant, the bullseye of the sniper rifle was aimed at James' temple. The man on the other side said in a cold and calm voice, "Do you want to bet? Let's bet on who's faster." "Major Du," James continued, "why do I feel that I'm faster?" His right hand suddenly used force, and Luo Qingshun felt like her vision was about to turn black. The other side had a blade and a gun. They were quite skilled, and they had many accomplices behind them. Luo Qingshun wanted to fight back with her own abilities, but she didn't have much chance of winning. At this moment, it was equal to her giving her life to Du Jiusheng. However, just when she thought it was time to act out a scene of love at first sight in a Korean drama. If you use her life to exchange for all of your lives. Du Jiosheng narrowed his cold eyes. I think it's worth it. Wasn't it the duty of the army to protect the people? It was fine if it wasn't love at first sight, but did he have to be this ruthless? Okay. James' lips curled into a cold smile. Then I'll kill her, and everyone here. He picked up a dagger with his other hand and pressed it against her neck, causing blood to flow out. James, Du Jiosheng coldly said, could it be that you don't want the blood medicine? If you die, the person you want to save will also die. In a battle of experts, the one who frowned first lost. It was a good thing that James didn't see Du Jiosheng's expression. Otherwise, James wouldn't have lost first. What do you want to do? There was great progress in this confrontation as Du Jiosheng's cold voice sounded again. I'll let all of you go. You can't hurt a single person. Silence. There was silence in the air. James' plan had reached this step with great difficulty. But if they went back now, it would all be wasted. After all, the hospital would definitely send more people, and they didn't even know if Wang Wei was still here. But if they forcefully attacked, not only would they not be able to take the blood medicine, they might really lose their lives. Du Jiosheng was an opponent he understood very well. He did things quickly and decisively. Okay, James slowly let go of Luo Qingshun before looking at everyone. Let's go. Go. Boss. Let's go. Luo Qingshun, who was suddenly released, coughed violently. At this time, James and his companions had already boarded a black off-road vehicle. However, he still seemed to be angry. The moment the car door closed, he shot a glance in the direction of the hospital. Be careful. Be careful. The voice that came from Du Jiosheng's phone and Luo Qingshun's voice were at the same time. The only difference was that Du Jiosheng was talking to Luo Qingshun and Luo Qingshun was talking to the little girl who had been kidnapped in the beginning. She hugged him without hesitation. One of the bullets instantly pierced through her shoulder, and a heart-wrenching pain shot through her. A few more people in the hospital fell to the ground, and the whole hall was filled with the smell of blood. Luo Qingshun took a deep breath and shook her head gently. Glancing out the door, James and the others had already driven away. She pressed her wound, and her face turned pale, but she still stood up. She picked up the phone and said, Xiaoyu, bring everyone in our group to the hall on the first floor. There are too many injured people. All right. Xiaoyu's voice on the other side was trembling. She was very afraid. Even if she didn't see it with her own eyes, just from hearing it on the phone, she was so afraid that she almost cried. This chapter ends. Chapter 3668. 30 seconds later, Du Jiosheng's group charged in. They only looked at each other for a moment before he turned his gaze to the others. You guys stay here and help take care of the patients. Yes. Mei Zhu and I will head back first. This matter isn't over yet. Yes. Luo Qingshun didn't call his name. She just supported herself and closed her eyes. It really made people feel uncomfortable. Du Jiosheng turned and took 2 steps, but his feet couldn't listen to him as they stopped. He tightly knit his brows as a strange struggle appeared in his heart. He had never experienced this struggle before, so it was very hard to resist. He couldn't resist the struggle in his heart as he turned and walked towards Luo Qingshun. Everyone was stunned. Even Luo Qingshun, who felt like she was about to faint, suddenly opened her eyes wide. He stopped in front of her, and his cool right hand softly checked her wound before slightly knitting his brows. It's a penetrating wound. Luo Qingshun said with a nod. It penetrated the skin and went below the dermis, causing bleeding. Can you still hold on? Du Jiosheng asked in a cold voice. Luo Qingshun's lips curled into a faint smile. If I said I couldn't hold on, what would you do? He was surprised before turning to look at Wang Zimu behind him. Take her to the emergency room. Penetrating wounds need to be deeply cleaned to avoid infection. You should know better than me as a doctor. She said with a shrug. If Major Du isn't a soldier, you should be suited to be a doctor. You're thinking too much. In the next second, Yi Meiju revealed an unhappy expression. Major Du is the strongest soldier in the world. Without knowing why, This was Yimei Zhu's first time feeling that Du Jiusheng treated this girl differently from others. This heaven's favored son had never interacted with a girl before. He was cold and overbearing, doing things like lightning. He believed that as long as he completed his mission, sacrifices were inevitable. The sacrifices in the past few years even included his life. Wang Zimu was also stunned for a moment. He hurriedly nodded and walked towards Luo Qingchen. He looked at Luo Qingchen's pale cheeks and said, "It might hurt a little. Bear with it." On the surface, there might not be much bleeding from a gunshot wound, but in reality, the wound would overflow for several years, and the pain would be unbearable. Luo Qingchen didn't make a sound from the beginning to the end. It was probably because she had experienced a lot, so her tolerance for pain was relatively high. She nodded lightly. Wang Zimu squatted down and was about to pick her up when the man with the military orders are absolute opened his mouth again. In the next second, the cold-faced man suddenly said, "Don't touch her." Everyone was stunned. Luo Qingchen's eyes widened as she blinked. Wang Zimu, on the other hand, was completely at a loss and was in a state of complete confusion. Their major had always been decisive in doing things. He had always said what he wanted to say. He had never seen such a scene where he changed his mind twice in 1 minute. Wang Zimu, here. In the next second, Wang Zimu immediately saluted. "You and Mei Zhu go back first." He knit his brows and said, "I'll take her to the emergency room." "But Major," Yimei Zhu wanted to say something, but she was stunned by Du Jiusheng's sharp eyes. This chapter ends. Chapter 36-69. He walked back to Luo Qingchen and carefully picked her up by the waist. There was a moment when he looked into her eyes, but the moment their eyes met, he immediately looked away. The distance from the main hall to the emergency room was just that long. There were nurses pushing stretchers past them, but he didn't put her down. When they reached the emergency room, Li Miao came over and said, "Were you hit by a gun?" Li Miao was the director of the surgery department. He had always admired the previous host. But they were all adults and knew that there was no meaning in being heartless. But now that she was injured, his heart was naturally nervous. He looked at Du Jiusheng on the side and said, "Thank you, sir. You can go out first. The hospital is very chaotic today. Thank you for protecting the safety of the people." These words sounded like praise, but in reality, Li Miao's words were filled with hostility. Du Jiusheng naturally could hear it. He put his hands back in his pocket, and without another word, he turned to leave the emergency room. Luo Qingchen thought that he would at least say something. There was an inexplicable sense of loss in her heart. She had been too hypocritical. After all, he didn't know anything about her in this world. Because it was a gunshot wound, although the bullet didn't stay in the body, it was still a major operation. After 6 hours of anesthesia, it was already nighttime when she woke up. There was no one else in the room other than her. Luo Yi and White Rose had gone on vacation, so there was only Bai Ning and Luo Xingchen. Luo Xingchen was in a vegetative state, so it was impossible for Bai Ning to come see her. But reality was different from what one imagined. Not only did people come to see her that night, there were even 3 of them. The first person who came to see her was Fu Lin, who she had stood up this afternoon. He had come to question her angrily, but he found that she had been shot and had undergone surgery. He would be too shameless if he still scolded her under such circumstances. But reality proved that he was shameless to begin with, because after understanding everything, the first thing he said to Luo Qingchen was, "You should have told me before you had the surgery. Do you know how long I've been waiting for you in a coffee shop?" This sentence left Luo Qingchen in a state of shock. Have people's 3 views been crushed by a train? This was the first time in her life that she had seen such a subversive view of the world. A few seconds later, she couldn't help but laugh, but she didn't say anything. Fu Lin heard her mocking tone and said unhappily, "What are you laughing at? Am I wrong?" "Yeah, you're right." Luo Qingchen took back her smile and pretended to be serious as she looked at her. "You have to call me before you see the King of Hell next time, otherwise I can't prepare for your funeral." "You?" Fu Lin said angrily. "Luo Qingchen, why are you like this? I came to see you out of goodwill." The next second, the door of the hospital room was opened again. Wang Zimu walked in and said, "I really don't think you're here to see Miss Luo. Who are you?" Fu Lin originally felt quite good about himself, but when he saw Wang Zimu, he lost his confidence. The other party was wearing a military uniform and was at least 8 meters tall. He gave off a very domineering feeling. The National First Class Army, 9 Souls Unit. Wang Zimu sneered. "Why? Do you have something to say? 9 Souls Unit?" Wang Zimu glanced at him and said, "I have friends in the army, but I haven't heard of them. Just because you haven't heard of them doesn't mean they don't exist." The next second, an extremely cold and dignified voice came from the door. End of chapter. Chapter 3670. Du Jiusheng narrowed his cold eyes as he looked at Fu Lin. "Also, this place doesn't welcome you." Fu Lin heard this and wanted to refute, but when he saw Du Jiusheng, he was stunned. His lips awkwardly twitched as he looked at Luo Qingchun. "Qingchun, since you have guests here, I'll come see you next time. You have to take care of your body and rest well." As soon as his voice fell, Fu Lin turned and quickly left the room. But it wasn't because Du Jiusheng's voice was cold. Rather, it was because his aura was just too strong. He had a golden ratio figure, a sinister face, and a cold wind that made people unable to take a breath. After Fu Lin left, Wang Zimu looked at him with a doubtful look. "Boss, why are you here? Didn't you have me come?" "Shut up." Du Jiusheng narrowed his cold eyes. "Dr. Luo should be hungry. Go downstairs and buy some porridge." "Ah." Wang Zimu was surprised before rubbing his head and giving a military salute. "Yes." After Wang Zimu left, there was only her and Du Jiusheng left in the room. There were times when she didn't know why. But even though nothing had happened, there was a strange feeling that appeared in her heart. This feeling couldn't be described and couldn't be explained. There were times when she even wondered if the memories she lost 30,000 years ago were related to Du Jiusheng. Could it be that the story between them had always ended in a tragedy? Was that why there was this endless cycle of reincarnation? "What are you thinking?" Du Jiusheng saw that she was a bit distracted, so he spoke first. "Are you feeling better?" Much better." Luo Qingchen nodded with a faint smile. "Why does Major Do have time to see a commoner like me? Do you have something to tell me?" He also wanted to know the answer to Luo Qingchen's question. Why was it that he who never cared about the secular world would drive an hour and a half in the army to come to this hospital? He had already given himself an excuse to send Wang Zimu to see her. However, the moment Wang Zimu walked out of the army, he felt his heart burning with impatience. He had a feeling that someone was going to beat him to it. This kind of pleasure was really uncomfortable. In less than a minute, he drove behind Wang Zimu and headed to the hospital in the city. He had been so anxious all the way that he hadn't thought of a reason to come here, even though he and Luo Qingchen were the only 2 people in the ward. Yes." Du Jiusheng's cool as water voice slowly sounded as he looked at her. "The group that came to the hospital today is an internationally famous mercenary group. Perhaps you can call them terrorists." "So?" Luo Qingchen looked at Du Jiusheng and said, "Major Du wouldn't have specially come here to explain this to a normal person, right?" "Of course not. Could it be?" Luo Qingchen's eyebrows trembled slightly. "You missed me?" The next second, the air fell into an extreme silence. Du Jiusheng stood there, as his deep eyes couldn't see the bottom, but there was a faint glow in them. Without knowing how long passed, Du Jiusheng said in a strange voice, "Is Dr. Luo this narcissistic? So you didn't?" "I didn't." Luo Qingchen pretended to be depressed as she looked at him. "You really are disappointing." Chapter 3671. Du Jiusheng slightly knit his brows as he inexplicably felt a bit of regret. Wasn't his reply a bit too fast? He should have thought about it a bit more before replying. Why did he reply this quickly? Seeing Major Du's annoyed expression, "Since you're not thinking about me, there must be something else." Luo Qingchen took a sip of water from the cup beside her. "There's no harm in speaking." Wasn't this making it hard for Du Jiusheng? This was because he hadn't thought of a reason to come here yet, and these iron-blooded soldiers didn't know how to make up a reason. This caused the 2 to fall into silence again. "What? Is it hard to say?" Luo Qingchen said. You still have something to ask of me. Ah. Du Jiusheng seemed to have thought of something as he said, I wonder if Dr. Luo is familiar with Dr. Wang Wei of your hospital? We're both doctors. Naturally, we know each other. Luo Qingshun held her chin with her right hand. He is a senior in the research lab and rarely does surgery. Normally, he's researching new drugs. I know, Du Jiusheng replied. The one leading today is called James. He is the leader of the mercenaries. So, these people came to the hospital because of the S-blood you mentioned today? Yes. Luo Qingshun knit her brows. I've never heard of this medicine in the hospital. I've never even heard Dr. Wang Wei mention it. Secret research, because the formula for this medicine contains a large amount of human albumin. Du Jiusheng looked at her and said, Dr. Luo should know what this is. A large amount? Luo Qingshun slightly knit her brows. No wonder we don't know about it. The value of human albumin itself was very high. It was extracted layer by layer from human blood. There was a mysterious royal family of a certain country who had blood cancer. It was unknown where they heard that the S-blood could cure blood cancer, so they sent James to steal it. Du Jiusheng leaned against the wall beside her bed. Because he couldn't contact Wang Wei, he directly came to the hospital. We can't find Dr. Wang Wei now. Luo Qingshun looked at him and said, So will they come back? Not certain. Du Jiusheng said, If S-blood is still in the hospital, they will definitely come back. Oh, Luo Qingshun showed an expression of sudden realization. So Major Du came to find me tonight to remind me. After a long time, he nodded stiffly and said yes. After a moment of silence, Wang Zimu returned. Sir, he first saluted and then said, Because I don't know if Dr. Luo likes sweet or salty food, I bought 2 sets. Thank you. In the next second, she revealed a brilliant smile and looked at Wang Zimu. I like them all. I'm glad you like it. Wang Zimu saw that her arm was wrapped in thick gauze and hurriedly said, Dr. Luo, your hand is injured. It must be inconvenient for you to eat, or I will feed you. Du Jiusheng tightly knit his brows as a sharp glow appeared in his eyes. As expected, someone almost got there first, but it was a good thing he followed. Wang Zimu naturally felt this gaze, but he couldn't come back to his senses. His lips twitched as he said, Boss, you can go back first if you have something to do. I will take good care of Dr. Luo. I'll go back after she finishes eating. Unhumph. With a cold snort, Wang Zimu trembled in fear. In all honesty, did he say something wrong? Chapter 3672. Number 10256 Wang Zimu. Yes. Wang Zimu immediately relaxed and gave a military salute. National Defense Special Forces 9 Souls Unit Number 10256 Wang Zimu. Please give your orders. Although Wang Zimu couldn't guess Du Jiusheng's thoughts at all, he knew that this major with a pale face was angry. Immediately drive back to the army and run 20 laps with a 10-kilogram sack. Yes. Even if Wang Zimu's heart was in a state of collapse between soldiers, no matter what the reason was, the subordinate had to obey the superior. Not to mention that their boss was very strict with them. No matter what orders he gave, they had to obey. Wang Zimu looked at Luo Qingshun and planned on leaving after saying goodbye. But when he saw Du Jiusheng's cold eyes, he didn't even say goodbye as he turned to leave the room. Luo Qingshun looked at Du Jiusheng with a faint smile. It seems like Major Du is very strict with his subordinates. Without knowing why, although Du Jiusheng didn't say anything, she could see the care in his bottomless eyes. Yes, care. The army is like this, Du Jiusheng calmly said. Not to mention that obeying orders is the most basic rule of every soldier. Luo Qingshun suddenly said, It's a good thing I'm not a soldier. Otherwise, if I obey Major Du one day, it would be tragic. Du Jiusheng slightly knit his brows. Why? Because it's easy to take revenge. Luo Qingshun picked up the chopsticks on the bedside table as she said, Isn't Lieutenant Wang Zimu the best example? Du Jiusheng picked up the porridge beside him and changed the topic. Can you eat it yourself? Du Jiusheng felt a burning sensation behind his ears, and his heart was beating faster than normal. But he couldn't reveal any strange expression on his face. forcing himself to reveal an expressionless face. The next second, Luo Qingshan smiled and said, "Do you want me to say yes or no?" Luo Qingshan felt that this feeling was very pleasant, especially when she saw Du Jiushang's not admitting even if you beat him to death expression. She felt a strange warmth in her heart. Du Jiushang didn't reply. Rather, he opened the 2 bowls of one sweet and one salty porridge on the table and asked, "Do you like it sweet or salty? Didn't I just say that the prince was numb? There's always one you like more, isn't there?" She looked into his eyes, and a faint mist appeared in her clear eyes. She looked at him with slightly red eyes and said, "It's sweet." Du Jiushang was stunned by her sudden expression. He picked up the 8 treasure lotus seed porridge and scooped a spoonful, sending it to her mouth. Just as he put it near her mouth, he felt that something was wrong. So he took it back and blew on it twice before sending it to her mouth. Luo Qingshan ate while teasing him. Is Major Du this gentle and considerate to every girl? Du Jiushang was surprised since no one had ever described him as gentle and considerate before. "No," he softly replied. "It's not appropriate to use these words to describe me." "Oh." Luo Qingshan turned. "So it's iron bones and tender?" Du Jiushang looked into her eyes, and after a while, he said, "Actually, I don't know either. I came today because there was a problem in my heart that made me a bit uneasy." "What problem?" Luo Qingshan said, looking at Major Du's eyes. "It seems like it's related to me." After a while, he said, "Have we met before?" Chapter 3673. Have we seen each other before? Have we seen each other before? Have we seen each other before? This kind of question, was it moving or cruel to her? Luo Qingshan's eyes were filled with Li Guang as her lips twitched. "You think you've seen me before, right? My memory has always been good." Du Jiushang looked at her and narrowed his eyes. "I'm certain I've never seen you before, but you give me a very familiar feeling." He didn't know why, but as a soldier, the most taboo thing was feelings. Therefore, he never had any needs for the matters between men and women. That kind of feeling that came from the disorder of his hormones, it was the same as feeling. But now that he had met her, it was like he really felt it. He snorted at those people and looked down on them. Love at first sight. But he fought against his heart and wasn't willing to admit it. But so what if he didn't admit it? The actions of the body were always more honest than the mouth. "Perhaps," Luo Qingshan said, "perhaps we knew each other in our previous lives." Who would believe this kind of nonsense? Du Jiushang's reason told him that he didn't need to believe it. This wasn't just a joke. However, his heart, which had been empty for a long time, believed it crazily. The so-called past life. The so-called love at first sight. The so-called... Du Jiushang thought of something, but he didn't dare think about it. He just gave a snort and shook his head. "Dr. Luo is joking. If Major Du really thinks that I'm joking, why did you take so long to respond to me?" Luo Qingshan raised her right hand, and her slender fingers pressed against his heart. "I think that you should listen to the answer in the depths of your heart. Instead of resisting and struggling in vain." She could see that he was struggling, a struggle between reason and emotions, a struggle between his brain and his heart. Because she knew that even if Du Jiushang didn't remember the past in this world, he didn't have any memories of the past. But he definitely had different feelings for her. Tonight, his arrival was enough to prove this point. "I don't." He looked over and continued denying it. "You do." With her hands on her hips, Luo Qingshan pursed her lips and said, "You don't have to deny it. Your expression has already proven everything." "I didn't." "You do. If I say no, then no. If I say there is, then there is." In the blink of an eye, Du Jiushang's right hand suddenly grabbed her wrist and pulled her in. His mind didn't have the ability to think at all. He was just thinking about how to make the words "you have" disappear into thin air. His Weibo lips had already blocked her mouth at this moment, and her ears, which were originally slightly red, instantly turned red. Luo Qingshan never thought that Du Jiushang would do this. Didn't they agree to fight till the end? Why did the other side suddenly appear? The entire kiss was silent for a full minute. It was just lips on lips, nothing deeper. However, The ambiguous atmosphere around them had already reached a boiling point. When Du Jiusheng's mind became clear again, he suddenly let her go. At this moment, there was no other sound in the room other than their fast breathing. Sorry, I also don't know what's wrong with me. Du Jiusheng closed his eyes, and his long lashes looked very beautiful under the warm light. AI. Luo Qingshan gave a sigh and pretended to look sad. So Major Du is planning to use I also don't know what's wrong with me to avoid responsibility? Chapter 3674. She didn't know where her feelings came from, but she was deeply in love. No, Du Jiusheng said, I've been too tired recently. Then you're not planning on taking responsibility. Luo Qingshan said with a sigh. So the dignified Major Du is actually a man who doesn't plan on taking responsibility after stealing a kiss from a young girl. Dr. Luo. He looked into her eyes and revealed the clear eyes of a young man as he softly said, Do you really need me to take responsibility? What kind of person I am, you should know after what happened at the hospital. I'm clear. A person walking at the muzzle of a gun should be the most insecure for a woman. Du Jiusheng looked down and said, I don't know why, but I have to admit, when I first saw you, I felt that you were very special. Special, so you can tease and kiss me, but you don't need to take responsibility, right? Luo Qingshan looked up with an aggrieved look in her eyes. She understood this principle. Du Jiusheng just didn't remember it, so she couldn't blame him. However, the parting of life and death that they had experienced were all so unforgettable. She remembered those scenes, so even if Du Jiusheng only looked at her with a bit of distance, her heart felt strangely uncomfortable. I will take responsibility. Du Jiusheng bent down and said in a somewhat clumsy voice, As long as you're willing, I will take responsibility. Puchi. Luo Qingshan looked at him with a faint guang in her eyes. She bit her lip and said, So I'm forcing you? Major Du, no. Du Jiusheng couldn't help raising his right hand and patting her head. Rest early. She closed her eyes and revealed a helpless smile. Good night. Actually, Du Jiusheng never understood that she wanted to live and die together. The thing that Luo Qingshan was most afraid of in this world was that she couldn't live with Du Jiusheng and couldn't die with Du Jiusheng. When Du Jiusheng left the room, she couldn't help calling out to him, Big Brother Jiusheng, even if I forced you, I'll treat it as you agreeing. So, you can't be irresponsible. All right. At the same time, the mercenaries rented a warehouse. Half of the warehouse was filled with guns and explosives. James wiped his 98K and said coldly, The boss didn't give us much time. We can't fail this time. The following dialogue will be displayed in Chinese to prevent my darlings from specifically inquiring about the meaning. That Major Du has been obstructing us. We need to get rid of him first. He's not someone that's easy to deal with. He is indeed not easy to deal with, but we can start with the people around him. James narrowed his eyes and said, I want him to know that there's a price to pay for standing in my way. 9 Souls Base. At 10:30 p.m., Wang Zimu was still running laps with a sandbag on his back. Yimeiju happened to see him and asked in confusion, What are you doing so late at night? Carry out the order. Wang Zimu panted heavily as he ran to the sports ground. What are you doing here so late at night? Yimeiju asked with a frown. Who would let you run this late at night? In the 9 Souls team, Wang Zimu only listened to Du Jiusheng, but she couldn't find Du Jiusheng all night. If there wasn't a special mission, he would stay in the army. Yimeiju was worried about his safety, so she came out to look for him. She never thought that she would meet Wang Zimu running in the sports ground. Calm. Wonderful house. Calm. Chapter 3675. Who can make me run on the field? How could you not know? Wang Zimu didn't like Yimeiju that much. She often acted like she was Du Jiusheng's most capable subordinate, which made him feel uncomfortable. Where's boss? He was in the hospital. Wang Zimu stopped with his hands at his waist. I don't know where he is now. Why is he in the hospital? Yimeiju thought about it before saying, Could it be that James' matter wasn't taken care of yet? But if it wasn't taken care of, he should have brought her or Wang Zimu with him. Acting alone, although it was possible, the possibility was too small. No. Wang Zimu raised his index finger and waved his hand. Boss went to see Dr. Luo, who was injured today. He wanted to send me, but he was worried and ran off himself? What did you say? Yi Meizhu revealed a look of disbelief. How is that possible? Don't you know what kind of person Du Jiushang is? How could he specially see a doctor? Stop joking. Wang Zimu heard this and pretended to fall in a deep thought. Yi Meizhu bit her lip and said, I'm right? Impossible. You must be lying. Sergeant Yi, I'm not lying. Wang Zimu picked up the sack again as he ran. I also want to know the answer to this question. How about you ask boss yourself? As soon as his voice fell, he ignored Yi Meizhu and kept running. Yi Meizhu stood there in a daze and didn't come back to her senses for a while. Du Jiushang. That person was Du Jiushang. Like a dragon in the sea, like a tiger on land, iron-blooded and cold. The proud son of heaven, Du Jiushang, who was directly sent by the highest authority in the world. His eyes never stopped on a woman, not to mention a doctor who didn't have any skills. No, she didn't believe it. Yi Meizhu stood on the field for a long time, and finally at 12, she saw Du Jiushang's car slowly drive into the camp. At this time, Wang Zimu had just finished running. This was Du Jiushang's first time punishing him so harshly. If it wasn't for his strong physique, he really would have run out of breath. Boss, you're back. Wang Zimu put down the sack and walked forward. You've been in the hospital for so long. Did you see Dr. Luo finish the porridge? How is it related to you? Du Jiushang's cold eyes fell onto Wang Zimu, and Wang Zimu instantly closed his mouth. If Wang Zimu just wanted to tease Major, Du who punished him, then Yi Meizhu couldn't help but have the urge to ask questions. Did the Major go to the hospital? Yes. Du Jiushang softly replied before heading to the dorms. Yi Meizhu was a little anxious. Is it because the matter with James hasn't been settled yet? If necessary, I can go there again tomorrow. No, Du Jiushang said with an impatient frown. I'm going to see Dr. Luo. You went to see her. Why did Dr. Luo? Du Jiushang slowly stopped, and his ice-cold voice slowly sounded in the night breeze. Do your job well, you have to know what to ask and what not to ask. Du Jiushang ignored Yi Meizhu and walked into the dorms. Without knowing why, he felt that the stars were especially bright tonight, and his mood was especially good. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 3676. Luo Qingqian stayed in the hospital for a week before being discharged. During this time, Du Jiushang would call her from time to time, worrying about her injuries. It had to be said, Big Brother Jiushang seemed to be a straight man this time. Every time he called, the first thing he said was, Are your injuries better? Sometimes he would use different words, but in the end, it was the same. When Luo Qingqian was discharged, Du Jiushang came to pick her up, but she had an important operation to guide. Although her shoulder was injured and it didn't affect her future use of the scalpel, it was best if she didn't operate on others in the short term. But all the doctors in the hospital had been busy with large and small operations for the past month, so her operation could only be done by her proud disciple Xiaoyu. She had to guide her the entire time to prevent any accidents from happening. After the last operation, it was already noon of the next day. She washed up in the hospital before planning on going home to sleep. She never thought that when she was crossing the street, she would meet an Annie who was around 50 years old who had accidentally broken a fruit bag. In the spirit of serving the public, Luo Qingqian helped the Annie pick them up one by one. Little girl, thank you so much. You're welcome. Luo Qingqian shook the orange in her hand. But there's no bag. Auntie, how are you going to take it back? That's right. The Annie thought for around 5 seconds before saying, How about this little girl come back with me? My house is in this building. Annie will cut some fruit for you to thank you for your help. Actually, Luo Qingqian refused in her heart. But there was an idiom in this world called it's hard to refuse kindness. Not to mention that she couldn't just throw the fruit to someone else and leave by herself. She knew that without a bag, she couldn't carry all this fruit by herself. All right, the Annie was very talkative, talking about her son along the way. She said that her son was a very capable soldier, reaching the rank of major at such a young age. Luo Qingshan followed the "this world is this coincidental theory" and casually asked, "Your son wouldn't be called Du Jiusheng, right? How did you know?" Sure enough, once coincidences entered a cycle, one would discover that some things in the world were just so coincidental. So much so that a total stranger could meet him twice in a day and not in the same place. Luo Qingshan sighed at the ingenuity of fate. She also sighed at how she was able to meet her future mother-in-law in this plane in such a manner. Although she wasn't sure how they would interact in the future, she was sure that at least the first impression would be good. Luo Qingshan smiled and replied, "He appeared in our hospital 2 days ago. We met once." After all, if the word young was used to describe a major, there shouldn't be many people in this city. Oh, Chen Huan suddenly realized something. I remember now. The news said that a hospital was attacked by terrorists a week ago. So, little girl, are you a doctor? Yes, I'm a doctor. Luo Qingshan pursed her lips and smiled. Doctor of the cardiopulmonary surgery department. Your son saved my life. So if you have any discomfort in the future, you can come to the hospital to look for me. Du Jiusheng here seemed so distant. So since there was a chance, she had to start with his family. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm.